and of those whose interests thou hast committed to our church. Amen.
Communication from the chair.
Honorable members, in accordance with Section 152(3) of the 1997 Constitution and Order 87(2) of the Standing Orders, the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs tabled the Appropriation Bill 2024, that's the budget speech, on Friday, 8 December 2023, for this August Assembly to consider and pass the bill. Accordingly, as per Section 152(3)(a) of the 1997 Constitution and Order 87(3) of the Standing Orders, the National Assembly has 7 days from the day of its introduction to consider and pass the appropriation bill. Therefore, I would like to remind all honorable members to maintain the decorum and respect that befits this August Assembly. While robust debate is the cornerstone of a healthy democracy, it is equally important that we conduct ourselves with the dignity that our positions demand. In the coming days of this debate, I urge each member to continue offering constructive criticism, propose solutions, and engage in a dialogue that transcends party lines. The scrutiny of the appropriation bill demands not just our attention to specific allocations, but also a broader vision for the future we collectively seek to build. As we navigate through the intricacies of the budgetary provisions, let us be mindful of the impact our decisions will have on the lives of ordinary citizens. Our duty extends beyond political affiliations. It is a commitment to the people we represent. I look forward to witnessing a spirited yet respectful continuation of this debate. May our collective wisdom guide us to decisions that serve the greater good and contribute to the advancement of our beloved nation. I thank you. Clerk, can we proceed?
Correction and approval of record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Wednesday, 6 December 2023.
Honorable members, the record of votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 6 December 2023 is before us for correction and approval. Can any honorable member please move a motion for the correction and approval of the said record of votes and proceedings? Honorable nominated member Maimouna Sise.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move today's records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting on Wednesday, 6 December 2023. Consider.
Thank you, honorable nominated member Maimouna. Any seconder honorable members? Honorable member for Woolly East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion. Thank you.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Wednesday, 6 December 2023 be considered and approved. Honorable members, as usual, we have copies of the said record of votes and proceedings, and we will look through it page by page, and members may make their observations and comments, beginning with page 1. Honorable Member for Woolly East.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the prayers, 3 questions for oral answers, standing order 3641. So the standing order, we just put S there to make it standing orders. There are 2 orders there. Thank you.
Honorable members, you've observed it. Number 3, question for oral answers, standing orders. They are 36 and 41. It's more than 1, so it should be standing orders 36 and 41. Any more on page 1? We now move to page 2. Honorable Member for Jara Central.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on page 2, after the list of attendees, with permission, yes, those who were present, number 43. After that, you have a line there, the following members were absent with permission. And then it ends with a full stop. Honorable Speaker, I think we need to rectify this. I know this is the usual operation of the records, but when you say following, the sentence there should end up with a colon instead of a full stop. Thank you.
Semicolon. Huh? Colon. Honorable members, any comments on the observation by the Honorable Member for Jara Central? So we amend the full stop to be a colon. Honorable Member for Parliamentary.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on page 3.
We are on page 2.
Oh, I thought we finished. Okay, when we move on to page 2, then
Any more on page 2? No. All right, Honorable Member for Parliamentary on page 3, Honorable Members.
Thank you once again, Honorable Speaker. On page 3, where you have number 3, where you have questions for oral answers, the first number, which is number 1, question number 382 for 2023 by Honorable Minister for Serekunda. When we take an example by the first one, the following questions and number of supplementary questions were asked. So similarly, number 1, the question for number 382, 2023 by Honorable Minister for Serekunda.
Honorable Member for Serekunda.
Honorable Member for Serekunda was asked, answered, and generated 5 supplementary questions. So I think was is missing. We should add was asked, answered, and generated 5 supplementary questions. Answers.
No, remember, the honorable member of Serekunda who asked. It's not the honorable minister, as we were reading. It's the honorable member for Serekunda asked.
Oh, he asked. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
he asked the honorable minister.
No, that's okay. I understand. Thank you.
Pardon?
Yeah, I understand.
You understand?
It's all
okay.
right. Thank you.
Honorable member for 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒔.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. On page 3, my name is captured under the members who were absent with permission, but actually I was here on Wednesday. I was here and I even
Which
signed,
number?
Number 56 on page 3.
56?
Yes, my name is captured under those that were absent with permission, but actually I was here, I was present on Wednesday. I even signed the book, you can check.
Honorable members, you have that corrected. Number 56, Honorable Alhaji Babu Sise of Sabak Sanjal should be deleted from those absent with permission and included on the list for those present. We move to page 5. Sabak Sanjal.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. On page 5, correction number 230 of 2023
no,
by...
just a number, there is a numerical number.
Correction number 8.
Yes.
Was asked, answered, and generated 2 supplementary questions which were answered. Actually, the honorable member for... Okay, this is Beckham South. Okay, it's okay, that's fine. I thought it was Banjul South. Thank you.
Question number... Sorry, page number 6, honorable members. Page, honorable members, page 7. Honorable member for Jara Central. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, once again. On page 7, number 24, question number 394. by Honorable Member for Kunda. The question was asked and answered. So it is that and between ask and answer, and then the answer should be in its past forms. Thank you.
Honorable Member Fini was asked, there is one is missing, and the answer is should be in the past tense, ED. Honorable Member for 𝒂𝒊𝒏.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, for the same question, which is number 24 on page 7, I think if we should follow the same procedure, like the question was asked, comma, answered during the third ordinary session. I don't think it will be necessary to add and in it. Thank you.
Was asked and answered during the third ordinary session. You know, where you don't have the "and", usually that is done by generating as the last one, as the last phrase, yes. But this one, there is nothing like that. It's asked and answered. Honorable Member for Woolly East.
Yes, thank you. In the next paragraph, after adjourned, we add the sitting. Pardon? We add the sitting, adjourn the sitting to Friday. Instead of just adjourn to Friday, we just adjourn the sitting.
Where? I don't know where you were.
I said the second paragraph, where you say in the absence of Honorable Minister for Information, the Honorable Speaker adjourned. I said we said the sitting, adjourned the sitting. The sitting is missing there.
Yeah, honorable members, you've seen it. Just under question number 24. Number 24, adjourned the sitting to Friday, 8 December. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Wednesday, 6th December 2023 be approved with amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Clerk, can we proceed?
Correction and approval of records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 8 December 2023.
Honorable members, the record of votes and proceedings of Friday, 8 December 2023 is before us for correction and approval. Can any honorable member please move a motion for the correction and approval of the said record of votes and proceedings? Honorable Member for Tumana.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move the motion for the correction and approval of the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sittings of Friday, 8 December 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Tumana. Any seconder, honorable members? Honorable Member for Sani Mentoring.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion. Thank you.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 8 December 2023 be considered and approved. Honorable members, we have all got the record of votes and proceedings for Friday, and as usual, we look through it page by page and invite your comments. Beginning with page 1. All right, honorable members, we move to page 2. Honorable member for 𝒂𝒏𝒔.
Are we in page 2 or page 3? No, my problem is in page 3, not page 2.
Members, page 2, no more? Page 2? Okay. We now move to page 3. Honorable member for 𝒂𝒏𝒃.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Page 3, after the heading where you have bill, there's another subheading which reads as seconding reading. It should be second reading. Have you seen that?
Yes, I've seen it.
On the same paragraph.
That was the first reading, am I right?
Yes. Underneath there is
you said it should, instead of first reading, it should be second reading.
No, the subheading after that paragraph. Instead of second reading, it reads seconding instead of second.
Okay.
Yes. On the same paragraph,
just hold on, we get the correction. Honorable members, number 2, bill, you know you have the first reading. After that, you have the seconding reading. It should be second reading instead of seconding. I think that's the language of the table office. Yes, go ahead.
On the same paragraph, if I may read, at the invitation of the Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs, moved there should be in past tense. Moved a motion. Thank you.
Noted. Any more honorable members on page 3? Honorable member for Woolly East.
Yes, thank you. Under the first reading, the last line, we put order 87 of the standing orders. So it's, if you look at the spelling, but also I would prefer to say close.
Sorry. Order, the third line on the first reading.
Yes.
The order should be ORDER.
Yes, but I'm also suggesting if we can take clause 87 of the standing orders instead of using order twice. It just suffices. Yeah, saying order.
Understanding order. You call it order.
You leave it how you want to. You understand?
Honorable members, last paragraph, just before adjournment, on the third paragraph on the second reading, I'm made to understand that the Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Order 86.4, should be 87.4. 87.4. The Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Order 87.4 of the Standing Orders. Any more honorable members on page 3, which is the last page? Any more?
Yes.
Who is saying yes? Sabak?
Yes. On the same paragraph, where you have the Honorable Speaker pursuant to Order 86.4, you said now it should be changed to 87.4 of the Standing Orders, adjourn the debate on the Appropriation Bill 2024 until Monday, 11th December 2023 to enable honorable members study the bill. There should be TO before study the bill to enable honorable members to study the bill. Thank you.
Without it, it's not good enough.
If I may refer to the standing orders, as it is on the standing orders, the Speaker shall adjourn the debate on the motion to enable members to study the bill. To study the bill. So it should read like that.
You are quoting from the standing orders. You are making reference to the standing orders. Okay? But in the absence of that, study the bill and to study, I doubt whether you... Members, as he referenced the standing orders, let's say, to enable honorable members to study the bill. I'm not very comfortable with it. Huh? You know, you see how what Jaliba used to say, what do I put, how do I put it? The law is, the standing order he is referencing does not say honorable members. What does it say? Standing order, can you read it? Sabak.
Yes, sir.
Standing order, quote that you quoted. Read.
Honorable Speaker. No, before I read, the standing order is qualifying what follows exactly.
Honorable member, I'm not saying that. I'm saying read the reference part of it.
The Speaker shall adjourn the debate on the motion to enable members to study the bill.
To enable, not honorable members.
Yes.
But to enable.
Honorable Speaker.
Okay, I think we are fine with it. Are we fine with it first? We amend it to, we add it to. Eh? Yes, honorable member for all you look.
Honorable Speaker, in my opinion, I think if we are going to put the order to, then it means we have to remove the word enable. We have to disqualify the word enable, and at least put 11 December 2024 for honorable members to study the bill. And use the one to, but you cannot put the two together. The first two can take care of the other one. So the word enable should go. We should remove it and then replace it with at least for honorable members
so the toe will now go after honorable members. It is becoming more complex now. Yes, honorable member, is this parliamentary?
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I think, Honorable Speaker, it's better we live as it is, because the word, the inability explains already, and the word to enable, and whereas you have the Honorable Speaker, which means the word Honorable Speaker is specifying that it is one person that the action is talking about. So I think the word to should not be added. We can live as it is. Because to enable Honorable Speaker study the bill, I think this one is more appropriate. We live as it is. Thank you.
I think it's now a thing for our learned experience to help us through, finally, because there is another proposal from the honorable member for Old Yundum, who said that 11th December 2023 for honorable members to study the bill. Instead of to enable will be replaced by for honorable members to study the bill. That's the proposal from, have I got you right? Yes. And the other proposal is we leave it as it is or we add to how it is. So I think we need to conclude that now. Which one is the best? Our legal experts, please help us. Huh? From our legal luminaries, they are saying, let's strike a balance and accept the one from Old Yundum. That says, on the Appropriation Bill 2024, until Monday, 11 December 2023, for honorable members to study the bill. To enable is out and replaced with for, and then after members, you say to study the bill. Are we okay with that? Honorable members, any opposition to it? Okay? Thank you very much. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 8 December 2023 be approved with amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it.
Speaker, motion. No.
No debate. We go home. Debate on what?
Yes, honorable member for, is it Nyaniga?
Yes, thank you very much. Ethics Committee. Ethics. Honorable Speaker, with your permission, standing order 53K, and of course the justification is standing order 103, subclause 13. At the Privilege and Ethics Committee, we have an issue, another urgent issue that we need to address, and we want the Assembly to grant us leave to sit just for 2-3 days, maybe during this session. Thank you.
Ethics, you must tell us what you want. Well, don't let them tell us. These people are very useless.
Honorable members, I think what the honorable member for Nyaniga is saying is the Ethics Committee has an important agenda item to deal with urgently. And therefore, they want to move a motion for them to be excused for at least 2-3 days when after the commencement of our business in the mornings, for them to go and complete that job. I will, pardon? Kiang, what's the problem? So, Honorable Member for Nyanija, can you move the motion and then it be seconded?
I think members are curious on what we are, but
Honorable members, please.
Okay.
I have had the privilege information on it. You know, we cannot just wash our dirty linen in public. We should be able to resolve our problems until otherwise. So there are problems, and we think it's critical that we look at it quickly, and for them to be able to at least propose a solution or come out with a solution. Please, can the Honorable Member please make the motion and let it be seconded?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move that in accordance with Standing Order Clause 103, Sub-Clause 13, for the Assembly to grant us leave the Privilege and Ethics Committee to sit during the session and deal with important urgent matters.
Honorable Member, any seconder to the motion? No, Honorable Nominated Member 𝒕𝒊𝒏 Jawara.
I rise to second the motion.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the Ethics Committee be granted permission to look at important issues for the next 2-3 days after the commencement of sessions. Those in favor, please say aye. Not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. So you've been granted, but as is qualified after the commencement of sessions. Clerk, can we proceed?
Bill, debate on the Appropriation Bill 2024 by the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs.
Honorable members, as per Order 87.4 of the Standing Orders, the bill was seconded by the Honorable Member for Ol Yundum on Friday, 8 December 2023, and the debate was adjourned until today. Before I open the floor for intervention, honorable members, I wish to remind all of us of the provisions of Order 87.5 of the Standing Orders, which reads, I quote, on resumption of the debate, the scope of the debate shall be confined to the financial and economic state of the Gambia and the general principles of government policy and administration as indicated in the bill. I invite all honorable members to observe the rules as indicated. On that note, may I now invite the any honorable member who may wish to take the floor to debate racist consequences tag and be recorded. I will now commence with the seconder of the motion.
No, motion.
There is a motion. Honorable member for Ol Yundum.
No, I withdraw, Honorable Speaker.
But who is talking about, sorry, who is talking about motion? Is it Ol Yundum? Call upon the honorable member for Ol Yundum to begin the debate.
Honorable Speaker, actually what I wanted to do was to raise a motion. But
Pardon?
I was going to raise a motion without notice, but I'm meant to understand that I am not a member of the ABC committee, so I wouldn't be able to raise that motion. So a member of the ABC committee should do that. That's what I want to say.
Honorable members, I have just told you for us to start the debate. And I said those who are interested to participate in the debate, raise your tax and your consequences tax, and it will be recorded. And then we allow you to participate in the debate. Have you got any records? So far, we have only one person for the debate. At the end, I will call the Honorable Minister to respond to your queries. Honorable Member for Woolly East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I thank the Minister for his very informative statement on the 2024 budget, which is titled Consolidating Recovery and Accelerating Reforms towards Building Economic Resilience and Improving the Well-being of the Population. Honorable Speaker, I believe that the Minister has given us very informative statement on the state of play of the Gambian economy. And I believe that he has also provided reasons why the economy is faltering the way it is faltering, even though he also said the economy has displayed resilience, referring to COVID-19, Ukraine war, and all those things. If you look at the Minister's statement, I believe it is in 5.5 or 6, where he's saying, the headwinds include the lingering effects of COVID-19 pandemic, the spillover effects of the Russia-Ukraine war, and the growing impacts of climate change and adverse weather and all those things. And then at the tail end, where he talks about tightening the global financial conditions and increasing cost of capital and debt service are the causes of the faltering economy. Honorable Speaker, I would agree with the Minister on the reasons that he has advanced, but I think that the Minister also needs to focus more closely on what we as a country needs to do internally to be able to have a lift-off from the state of the stagnant economy. There is a lot that we can do to ensure that our economy moves from this stage to the other stage. We should be able to reduce corruption in all its facets. And I can also think about diversion of money to foreign bank accounts. We should be very careful about that because we are taking loans, and the loans are mounting up. So we must be very careful so that the aid money that we are taking is not susceptible to theft, like the Global Fund. What happened to the Global Fund? Now the Consolidated Fund has to pay that money, which means that we've taken money, it has not gone to where it should go. At the same time, we have to come and pay it again. Honorable Speaker, one sector which has not been mentioned much in the statement is the mining sector. We know that Batokunku, Sanyang, and Katong were engaged in sand mining, but when you look at the estimates, you don't see much coming from that sector. And I believe we need to focus on it now because it is the extractive industry which can really, really accrue us a lot of dividend. Honorable Speaker, donors will never stop to give us loans. It is their business. They are making profit. So it is us who must think of how to reduce that debt so that we'll be able to make the best use of it to ensure that we can pay the debt, but at the same time, we'll be able to have the production that we require from it if we invest in the productive base. Honorable Speaker, the other area is the area of trade. I believe that we have not been focusing much on that. If you read the statement, you will see that the minister mentioned China. And you can see that the external trade has increased, according to him, substantially compared to 2022. And this is an area where we can really make headway because China definitely needs so many things that we are producing here. If we improve productivity of our workforce, China is fighting for food to feed itself. They need clothing, they need grain, beef, meat, cotton, and so forth. Why can't we explore this area so as to increase trade? And we have groundnut. And I believe we are selling groundnut to them. But we must also be able to transform the groundnut to finished product to be able to maximize the profits that we gain from external trade. Honorable Speaker, China is the second largest economy now. They were in the third stage, now the second largest economy. And they are opening up, not like other European countries or the United States. So, and they also need other things like bauxite, chrome, and other minerals. But what I have not been seeing in the Gambia is for us to explore our mining sector, the extractive industry, to see what we have. We have not done much to do that exploration so that we discover what we have. All countries have something, but unless you focus on it and explore, you will not be able to see them. And that is something that really can help us to build our sovereign national wealth and be able to take an economic takeoff. Like I said before, according to the minister, exports of goods grew significantly to 215.8 million in the 9 months of 2023, from 44.1 million. You see, from 44.1 million, we are able to move that up to 215.8 million in 9 months. So if we really think of this area, and we look at edible fruits, fish, cashew, groundnut, etc., etc., and these things are going to, according to him, to India, to China, to UK, and Turkey. So you can see that the main countries that we are exporting to are emerging economies. Emerging economies like China and UK and India. And we can definitely explore this area to South Africa, to Iran, and so on and so forth. These are all countries. To Brazil, we can explore all that and improve our external trade, which will definitely help us to reduce and reduce the dependency. Honorable Speaker, it's about time that we look at countries near us, African countries, that have graduated from aid dependency, like Botswana, like South Africa, and Rwanda. Aid is an easy way out, but it does not solve the future. It's mainly looking at the short term. And we should not be afraid for people telling us that if we leave, reduce your aid or you stop aid, you will suffer, your people will become more and more poor. That's not true. Now, the Honorable Minister also informed us that estimates and expenditure of 2024 budget is anchored on the reduction of the overall fiscal deficit, including the gradual reduction of the net domestic borrowing, including the domestic borrowing as a percentage of the GDP over the medium term. That's what he said. So the minister in short is telling us that a solution to the economic crisis is precisely to do the above. Reduce the overall deficit as well as the gradual reduction of the domestic borrowing as a percentage of GDP. Therefore, we NAMS now should be focused on that promise to ensure that there is a gradual reduction of domestic borrowing and a reduction in deficit. That should be our focus. That should be our focus to ensure that this deficit is reduced, because that is one of the main reasons why we are going into the crisis. Now, the minister was talking about tighter global financial conditions in response to multi-decade highs in global inflation rate, and so on and so forth. There's a long paragraph. There is no need to read all that. But now the inflation has gone to 18.5, according to him, and this has been reduced to 18.05, which is still very high. It's double digit. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the central bank raising funds by the central bank MPC is another way of slowing down the Gambian economy. It is really slowing down the Gambian economy. Because what happens is that the cost of borrowing is increased, because those who are taking the loans will have to pay higher interest rates, and that also makes the purchase of goods and services more expensive. The goods and services will become more expensive, and therefore, raising interest rates by this CBG may slow down the speed of inflation or inflation rise, but it may also lure investors to invest in T-bills to allow government to borrow more money. So instead of investment now, it will just be allowing the government to borrow more money, and that's what we want to reduce. So if we want to reduce domestic borrowing, but you raise interest rates, commercial banks will all want to take their money. It's the easy way of getting money, and that will just lure government to take more. Honorable Speaker, on point 49, which states on domestic resource mobilization, the Directorate of Revenue and Tax Policy continues to provide strategic focus on policy design, formulation, and analysis of revenue and tax policies that build resilience in our revenue mobilization. So let us accept, Honorable Speaker, that we badly need to increase investment. Maybe at least 5% or higher of the GNP, preferably in the productive sectors. It can appear difficult, but it is possible. We can say every year we are going to put this percentage of GNP to investment. What is disturbing us now, Honorable Speaker, is the debt distress. So it's my opinion that merely increasing rates or tax rates may be counterproductive in a way, and it can aggravate poverty and even slow down growth. So taxation is not a bad thing, Honorable Speaker, but if we really want it to work, we must be transparent and show to the taxpayer that their money is going into projects that they can see visibly and appreciate it, so that they'll be enthusiastic in paying tax. Honorable Speaker, let's inform ourselves also that in implementing and even publishing, we can even publish the efforts that we are doing with the taxpayers' money on a quarterly basis or mid-term basis to ensure that they appreciate what is being done. We can also improve services. You have the health sector, the consultation fee for the people to see doctors has been increased. And that is one area I am very concerned, because even the 25 was a problem for a lot of people. Now, if it is increased to $100, many people may want to run away from the public health services. And this may not be something good for our people generally. Many may even want to go for the option of herbs and so on and so forth. So we need to be careful about that. Now, Honorable Speaker, I want to also say that we should review our tax system. We should review it to make it easier for people to be able to file their tax. It will discourage evasion of tax, and it will also reduce corruption. That I believe in that. If we make it easier, it will also attract investment and improve tax resources. Also, Honorable Speaker, I believe the initiative in the budget to look for new tax or new sources of tax revenue, but we must be careful not to paralyze our poor people. We can increase tax in areas, but looking at other areas that will really affect the poor people, we should be able to avoid that. Many countries are eliminating certain taxes and going for production, and therefore we can also do that. The minister mentioned digital, which I agree 100%. E-filing system, which can decrease the time to prepare, file taxes. We can also identify sources, tax sources, that would target well-to-do such families, such as property tax, excise tax, and carbon. Carbon is another area where we can really accrue more, and I see that the minister has focused on some of those areas, which I really support. Honorable Speaker, such taxes can deter bad behavior. He mentioned it, bad behavior, and I really support that. I heard him mentioning cigarette. I think cigarette is part of it. We should discourage cigarette smoking. There are other areas also, like alcohol, which is also okay. I do not look at anybody. But bleaching, we wanted to remove the bleaching law here. We could not remove the bleaching law, so we leave it there. But then, why don't we target the bleaching oils? So many people are bleaching, which is affecting our people. So we should increase that to make it difficult for them. I believe that. But the minister increased, like I said, the health center consultation, which I am really suspicious of. I think that will be a problem for many of our people. And you know, you also talk about working with the World Bank. I think you said something like work with the World Bank on tax mobilization. I know that the World Bank is working with Senegal on tax mobilization. And it looks like they are going very well. They are reviewing the tax. So I believe that we should also explore that to see that what strategies do they have to really help us to deal with tax. There are so many other areas that we can deal with which will not affect the poor people and it will definitely generate a lot of tax. I believe these are some of the comments that I have, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Woolly East. I now invite the Honorable Member for Kiang West.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Today's debate is also a very important one for us. It is looking at the budgetary allocations and government policies, the individual ministerial policies, and aligning them to the National Development Plan to see if our budget will address the issues that are envisioned by the National Development Plan. Honorable Speaker, for today's debate, I want to focus on only 3 areas. One, that is on the Ministry of Youth and Sport. And Honorable Speaker, youth matters are very important. This is the ministry that is in charge with the future of the country, to ensure that we have future leadership that is responsible and responsive, and by giving youth empowerment, ensuring that youth are responsible and they contribute immensely to the socio-economic development of our country. Honorable Speaker, from Minister's deliberation and on the Ministry of Youth and Sport, when you look at page 42.138, which reads, National Enterprise Development Initiative, which is NEDI, has successfully established business incubation centers that provide comprehensive training to youth entrepreneurship. And at the end of this deliberation, we are told that the government fully supported, fully provided and funded support grant of $50,000 each to 32 youths in the country, across the country. If you look at that, youth and women entrepreneurs, right? Good. And if you multiply 50,000 by 32, that is 1.6 million. Honorable Minister, we the youth of the country, we are telling this is a very small commitment to the development of the youth sector when it comes to entrepreneurship and empowerment. This is really very small, $1.6 million is very small. And in order to avert the tragedy that we are confronted with today, we lost about 200, 300 youth in the Mediterranean just in 1 month. This was a serious tragedy in our nation. Every country, everywhere you go in the country, every neighborhood, know that one will tell you that our neighbor has died in the Mediterranean just a few weeks ago. And in order to avert this, there is no other way to empower youth than stopping them from traveling this irregular migration. This is dangerous, and our country has not had any tragedy more than what is happening today. And in order to stop that, we must empower this ministry through youth empowerment and women empowerment initiatives. But looking at $50,000 to 32 youth and women entrepreneurs is very small, it's very minimal. It's very minimal. And in order to avert what is happening today, we must commit huge resources to the future of the country. These are the future of the country. National Assembly members, ministers, presidents, they are all dying in the Mediterranean. It should be a concern for all of us. May all their souls rest in perfect peace. But this is a serious tragedy in our nation, and in order to avert that, we must put in serious mechanisms. And when you look at the National Development Plan, the National Development Plan is among one of the pillars to address migration issues. I have just read it, but I forgot which pillar exactly does it fall under. To address migration issues, it is not only about making Gambia a safe environment for migrants, no, but also to address the issues where our young boys and girls are traveling from this country through the sea. What is happening to the security sectors that are guiding this post? Honorable Minister, this needs to be thoroughly looked at. We have the immigrations at the port. We also have the Navy. How comes these people can escape our waters and travel this far? And we can only be informed that some of the boats were all sinked just by people who had taken its responsibility upon themselves, but not by any authority to tell us what has happened to these people, because we are not monitoring it. And on my view, if the cost of our waters are being monitored very well, these people are supposed not to escape our water and travel, either during the day or night, any time during the 24 hours clock. Nobody should escape our water through illegal migration without government being noticed. That's not acceptable. And I think the authorities must take responsibility and to ensure that the ports are guarded very well and people are stopped not to go. They will tell you that this ship was loaded at Tanjay, this ship was loaded at Kartong. We have securities at all those posts, at all those costs. What are they doing? I think investigation needs to be launched on it. Otherwise, we will accuse that there is an accomplice. Because you cannot post people there and they are given resources to monitor our waters, but there is no better way to monitor our waters than stopping our Gambian youths traveling illegally. There's no better way than doing that. If they are doing any other thing different from that, I think that is the better way to do it. Honorable Minister, I think that 1.6 million needs to be looked at very well for government. This is a commitment, and we respect the commitment, but we are urging the government to increase this to even $10 million annually, to commit $10 million annually to youth empowerment, to give to the youth. And we assess the results and to tell the government and the Gambian people that these are the youth that we have empowered through the $10 million, just like we are giving Women Enterprise Fund. Let's give the same thing to youth now. We monitor them constantly and consistently to ensure that they also pay tax to the government and they are also able to have a sustainable livelihood activity, and they can also employ other people. Honorable Speaker, when you go on the Ministry of Fisheries, sustainable water resource management is a very important area for us. Honorable Speaker, sustainable water resource management cannot be met without a policy. And numerous times, water bill has been pronounced to be brought in this parliament. We haven't still seen the bill. And some time ago, when we went around as a public enterprise committee to look at issues of water in the country, with respect to NAWEC, we realized that there are some other areas whose underground water cannot be used anymore, which means policies are not there to manage their underground water. Areas like Bundung are confronted with that. And it should be a concern for everybody, whether you are from Wuli or where. The underground water, when NAWEC went to assess, when they test in areas in Bundu and they realize that their underground water is seriously contaminated and cannot be further used. But all these issues should be addressed through policies. Through policies. So this water bill is very, very important. In fact, during that engagement, some of the members argued that, in fact, all our national budget, apart from recurrent and operation, should go into water because we cannot afford that our people are still struggling for water. So, Honorable Minister, under Ministry of Fisheries and Water Resources, there is no more important issue they can address than to bring a water bill here so that we can manage our underground water. I have said this here during the last debate, that underground waters in some countries are not good. In some countries, they exhaust it because they indiscriminately use it. And we should also be very conscious about it because the Gambia is not an island. These are natural resources that we must use judiciously. Otherwise, the future generation will suffer. Imagine people to assess the entire Bundun area and tell you the underground water cannot be used. And they went, this is why they have the commission, the borehole that we have at Bundun borehole. Because that water is contaminated and it cannot be further used. So we have to be very much conscious about that to ensure that, we drink water that is safe and ensure that we also have a place where we can tap underground water. We have a healthy environment. Honorable Minister, other than that, I only want to raise a concern with respect to the revenue. The projection in the increase of revenue has taken us almost 5 billion come 2024. What I want to question, are you going to get these 5 billion from the top areas through revenue collection by GRA, or is by levying tax on the citizens? If it is by levying tax on the citizens or increasing tax, that is going to increase the cost of living. That is going to increase the cost of living. As we are always advocating that there could have been a salaries restructuring so that the standard of living could match our earnings that we have in various offices. But if you tell us you are targeting the top areas through GRA to get this from businesses and imports and trades and all that, we could understand. But if you are putting it on the citizens, we want to know that this 5 million is a huge money. Whether it's achievable or not, we need to know. If you are putting it on citizens, it could be achievable, you get the cash with you, but it comes back to citizens again because the cost of living will be higher and people will suffer. And when people suffer, and that will also cause more pressure, on our resources, going to health centers, you will not have, money to buy drugs, you will be, so it causes a lot of pressures everywhere. So these are serious economic issues that we need to look at. When you project that you will collect this amount of revenue with that tune, $5 billion increment, that is a huge increment. If it is on the top areas, what percentage have you increased, on your taxes when it comes to trade and businesses? That has to be known. And if we are trying to get it from the citizens also, that also has to be known. And there are serious consequences of that, which could also come back to you as a government and to all of us. So, Honorable Speaker, with this few remarks, I thank you very much for giving me the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Kiang West. I now invite the Honorable Member for Lower Salou.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for adhering the constitutional mandate with your ministry to bring the budget to the Parliament for approval. Honorable Speaker, and again, I must say this, is the most important document so far that members of parliament should treat on. But then you can see it's the most boring document too, where members can sit down and wait for the document to be treated. Honorable Speaker, I must also show my dissatisfaction on the implement ministries or land agencies. The document that comes to the parliament, where the minister takes his time and defend any piece and bit of ministries and agencies just to pass this document. But today, none of these ministries, ministers or permanent secretaries are here to listen to members. This is why I say it's the most boring document so far. Here today is my 6th year in this National Assembly. It has never happened in the history of Gambia, whereby the former years, where we have seen all ministers listening to members, because we are representing our people. What we know to tell them what they are going to implement after passing this document. But you can see the entire gallery, there is no permanent secretary. Only the Minister of Finance, because they come to defend their document. This is why they're here. No ministers. Now, how can we go after passing this document, you to go and implement for members, for the citizens? None of them is here. Are you serious? And member for Kiang, you and I will never stop these backway symptoms, because the people who can stop it, none of them are here. You and I will never stop it. What is happening in this country? We'll just come here and say it. At the end of the day, it will not hold any water. Honorable Speaker, if you checked the process of this budget, Honorable Speaker, it could have been better for the minister and the parliament. You just lay the budget and we pass it there. Then the minister can go and the ministers go and implement it. I've not seen any impact on this document of the life and livelihood of the Gambian people. We will be struggling and struggling every day. We will not change anything. Those who are rich will be rich. Those who are poor will get poorer every day. Honorable Speaker, the minister has mentioned the 30% increment in the life of the citizens. But I'm telling you today, that 30% increment doesn't show any dividend to our people. Honorable Speaker, the most sad thing, I'll just give an example today, where after going committee stage, the committee members come with their reports, committee reports in the parliament, where the budget seeks not to address those basic needs. For instance, the securities, vehicle and GIs and their needs in the armed forces. This budget that we're going to pass cannot sit to address those issues. Then what this budget is meant for? Because I guess if the members of parliament go around for oversight functions and know the problems of the various institutions or departments, only to correct those things is during the budget session. But if that cannot happen, I think the way it comes in a document form, they take it like that, because you cannot address anything. When the security officers are down there, even the gears that they're going to put on, themselves, they will go and buy it to go and serve you and I. When you go to the health facilities, there's no drugs. You call that one as a budget. Where this budget is going to sit to address issues then? When you have seen 2023 budget was approved in this parliament, allocation was made for travel votes, and they exhaust those travel votes, even go for extra debt for $6-7 million. I have seen that evidence with me. When you said you're going to empower youth, put in 1 million. When you want to stop this back way, you cannot. Today, how many of our people are there in Libya, Algeria? They want to come back. They cannot, because the ministry has no monies to bring these people, to repatriate these people back home. And just during budget session, that we should address these issues, and we cannot. And when we are tired of these FPAC reports, we can't do anything. This is why I say it's the most boring budget process. When there are no ambulances in our hospitals, that this document should be addressed on. I think we need to look at the way this process is going. If we said we are representing for our people, I said no. This budget is the worst budget that I have ever sat down to sit on. The minister has done their job. Now it's left on us to do the better thing for the Gambian people. But we cannot do it. Because I have seen in series where it's legal or not. If the FPAC passed their resolution. And FPAC never mentioned anything. They have just done their part. It's left with the parliament now to make an adjustment and article it, deduct and do certain things. But when our hands are tied up, we can't do anything. The way the figures comes is the way it passed. So we call it budget. This is why it's boring. In that day, there was, you can check, 16, 17 people were there, sitting down. Most of them match out. The past budget sessions, where we see ministers scrambling with the finance minister, no, this is the way we wanted to do it. I can fully remember the former VP, when he was the Minister of Higher Education. He told the finance minister, no, this is the way we want to do it. And this is the way, if you give us the money, this is the way we're going to implement it. It's what we expect from the ministries or the ministers. But you can see, none of them are here. If the ministers are political appointees, we have no problem. But the technocrats should come and listen to members, because it's an important document. But already has already passed. Their travel votes are passed, everything is passed. Now they will come and implement it for themselves. It's a shame. Honorable Speaker, last month I will just give an example. When the minister said the 30% increment of salary increment, where a security officer found me in the bank, a sergeant officer receiving $3,750. We said, this is good. I think it's better we go back to the drawing board to make sure that the base need for human, we give it to our people. Everybody are desperate on this country. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, I now invite the Honorable Member for Joshua.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also join my colleagues to thank the Honorable Minister on his budget speech on Friday. Honorable Speaker, going through his speech, let me start with the revenue base. Because we have seen an increment of almost 5 billion compared to 2023 budget that needs to be implemented in the 2024. And I know the Minister will come back in details to give us where are his target points to at least cover up this big difference, which is welcoming. Because with proper homework, we can even collect more than this. Honorable Speaker, as we are surviving based on revenue, we almost always work hard on our revenue collection. Because during our budget bilaterals, we only see people talking to us on our bilaterals on how to spend, where to spend, but nobody will tell you how can we collect more. You need to sit together and then start. I think it's important we start thinking on how to collect more and where and how should we collect more. Than always thinking of my budget this year is small, I want an increment in A, B, C, and D. But none of them will tell you that I can collect more than this when this and this is done. I think I put it to my colleagues to look into it properly. If possible, I think we should start. Though we do have budget bilaterals, we have one of my colleagues is complaining about that we need to have ministers come in here to explain and defend their own budget. I think it's important we copy from our neighbor countries. Where ministers will come to this gallery and defend their own budget, than always allowing the Ministry of Finance to be there alone and then when they are not available. If they come here to defend their own budget and we've seen that what they are doing is not in line with what we want, we can say no to their budget individually than trying to make the whole country suffer. I think we'll suggest that let them come here in the gallery and defend their own budget in front of us, and then we scrutinize them one by one. I think we need to look at it and change our standing orders also if possible. Honorable Speaker, going to the revenue, the Minister has made mention on few points, going to page 67, possibly. Yes, on page 67, on areas that he thinks that we can increase on collecting funds, or we call it withholding tax, and mostly on rental properties. If you look at the MDAs, they are not much, Honorable Speaker. We have few MDAs that can collect or that are renting, and then they might also hold on their withholding tax based on their rent. But when you come to properties on private areas, on the same page 67, on page 67, if you look at properties on private areas where you have 15% possibly increment, 8% increment on those taxes. My question is to the Minister is, how prepared are they? Are there any monitoring mechanisms that they will put in place to monitor those areas? Because it's like between you and the landlord, between the tenant and the landlord. If the tenant is to hold, let's say, 8% of what I'm paying to the landlord, if he is to hold that, what will be the agreement between the tenant and the landlord? Is it not going to be another burden on the tenant? Because if you increase 8% if you charge 8% as a withholding tax, that you should hold from the amount being charged to you by the landlord? Is he not going to charge you more than charging you less? Because you don't want to lose. So he will see how best he can also gain that 8% that is charging, and that 15% that is currently being taxed on him as withholding tax. I think that should be a proper study on this, and also come up with these issues, because there's no an act that can guide us. So if you come up with this new tariff, I think they need to be looked at properly. And Honorable Minister Speaker, also with regards to the same increment, there are certain increment on tax that we need to look at also properly, because our borders seems to be also well tightened up. If you increase, let's say cigarette, we want to increase cigarette. Yes, we all say yes, we want to increase cigarette. But is there any proper monitoring? If you increase in the country and the demand is now low, if the demand is low, then it means the increment there is no impact. Because if you increase it here and then someone like me goes to the neighboring countries, let's say in the borderline where there is no proper security, I can take it from Senegal and come here and sell it cheaper than what other people are selling. So that the ones that are importing into the country might end up losing. And if the demand there is low, then it's like the tax will not be seen. So I think maybe the minister will explain how prepared they are, and then what were the approach taken to see that they have come to this conclusion to say A, B, C, and this will be increased, and if this increase A, B, C, this is the way we're going to correct it. I think it's very important for the minister to also help us on that. Honorable Speaker, let's cite an example of Julbru. When there was an increment on Julbru, they closed with immediate effect and then moved next to Senegal. Issues like this, I think we need to look at them and then have a time to discuss with. I know there was a discussion, but the reason of living was based on tax. But the money that they were paying was not forthcoming anymore. So before increasing, I think there has to be a proper study on ABC on these issues to make sure that what we are looking for. I mean, I might also suggest that to reduce tax and collect more than to increase tax and collect less. Let's look at this to properly. Whether we increase tax and continue collecting less, or we reduce tax and collecting more, it is more benefit than to reduce and collect more than increase and collecting less. So when we compare the two and come up with something that we think that it will be best for this country, because all what we are saying here, it comes back to us as citizens. Anything that has been increased comes back to us. Because if you increase anything, they don't care. Because increasing the ports means that the citizens suffer. Because if I am selling my bottle of water for $10 and now you are taxing this bottle of water, next minute I will increase it. And who pays it? We are the one who pays it. No matter how much salary we increase, it comes back to us because it makes nothing to be seen as something that is of benefit to you. Because the more you are receiving, the more you are paying. So it's like the additional makes no sense. So I'm suggesting that we look at those things when it comes to revenue and also work very hard on our revenue. Honorable Speaker, I know if the ministers work very hard with GRA to tighten all these loopholes, I think we can collect more than this. We can do more than what we are collecting. Because there is money in this country, and there are businesses in this country. If those things are done in the right way, we can collect more than this. But not always increasing all the time, giving us figures for next year, and based on what we need to increase A, B, C, and D. Honorable Speaker, on the same revenue also, I think the issue of subvention, the ministers should start working on these things, and also limit the issue of subvention, and engage these people that they are subventing. Let's set an example of the hospitals. You're still subventing this hospital, and these hospitals are still collecting. What are they collecting? Is it enough? I am saying no. What will be the results? What is the solution? Let's be very frank with ourselves. It's going to be difficult in this country for us to move and say we must have free medication. It's not possible. Free medical care, I'm saying no to it. I'm a politician, yes. But it's not possible. Go to the hospital. They prescribe and you see a doctor. You pay $25. A list is given to you. Go to the pharmacy. You only can collect only two drugs. And then go outside the hospital. You spend more than what you're supposed to spend when it was done properly. Why not you bring those medications in the hospital and then sell them in the hospital at lesser prices than the one going outside the pharmacies? So we are like working for the outside pharmacies than our own hospitals. Let's improve on our subventions, Honorable Speaker. Let's see what we can do. If the hospital, if the drugs are being sold at $100 outside, let's sell it at $70 and $70 to the poor people. Then allowing that poor man to go outside and buy for $100 and come back again and spending on their patients. It makes no sense. Where is the free medical care? Where is the free medication that we are referring to? And this year we have budgeted almost $240 million for what? For drugs. And yesterday we still go to the hospital and say there is no drug. I will go along the Independence Drive today and look at those pharmacies. People are queuing there in their numbers, buying what? Medications. Some from the provinces, they end up stopping you on the way to beg you to go and buy medication for their patients. Is that fair? No, it's not fair. Let's bring it to the hospitals and see what we can do for them. To charge less and then let them have what they want. And from those small amounts that we are collecting, we can motivate our doctors. Our doctors are all leaving because they are not well paid. Let's change the scenario. Yes, that was our intention, to save free medical care. But it is possible? No, it's not possible. It's not possible. We cannot be continuing subventing. At the end of the day, we start blaming each other. If the grants are not coming, you look at the grants today. The minister made it very clear that they receive less, or even I cannot say they didn't receive anything. I don't know of currently because I was trying to make my own design, but I was not able to get what I want. It's like the grants are not coming. If these grants are not coming, is it not also disturbing the TMS? The treasury men is not disturbing the Honorable Minister? If the grants are not coming and these men are projected to be at the treasury men account in the central bank, it's not going to disturb it. And if it disturbs, it's not going to also disturb your allocation to ministries, Honorable Minister. I think we need to look at this thing and make a study on the way these things are going and then start forgoing this grand issue and work hard now on our revenue collection and see how best we can tap more funds. There are areas that we can tap funds to collect more. But if those areas are left, nobody cares to say, let it be like the way it should. As the minister made mention, there are big guns in this country that are not paying tax. Why are they not paying tax? Why are they not paying? Why now? Why are they detecting it now? What went wrong, Honorable Minister? What went wrong? This is why they were not paying. Let's do things in the right way. Let people pay tax. And we, the very people who are not paying tax, are the one blaming government for not doing their responsibility. When it fails, we say government. And it starts from us. Let's do what is right. Let's follow. Let's chase people to pay their tax. And pay to the right people. And pay to the right place. But not to pay into our pockets. Honorable Speaker, coming on to page 58, if you may permit me to read, the key priorities of the budget and the medium-term fiscal objectives will be to reduce the budget deficits and overall debt of the country. 58.
Page 58.
On 194.
You always quote the paragraph.
194. You see it? Honorable Speaker, this is a very good move. But I also have a concern to the Minister to help me in. Because for us to reduce deficits and also over the overall debt of the country, I think there are some areas that we need to look at properly. One is to make our SOEs to be very much effective and pay dividend to government. But if those SOEs are not effective and they are not paying dividend to government, because I'm seeing this year, in this year's budget, there is zero on dividend. If there is zero on dividend, and then these are the SOEs that should help us to achieve this goal, then where are we? If these SOEs have to achieve this goal, and we are seeing zero on dividend, and currently we are already past a budget of 27 million to what? To set up what? A commission on the SOEs. And contracts should be signed as what? Performance contracts were signed this year. So, and we are saying zero dividend from this year's budget, then how are we going to achieve this goal, Honorable Minister? I think it's important we look at the SOEs and then see how best we can move on these SOEs to see them start paying dividend to government. If they cannot be privatize them, give them out. Then money comes in, then always government is spending and nothing is coming on. It's becoming a burden on government. Honorable Speaker, I think it's important we look at this properly. Yes, the revenue base is also part of it, in which there is an increment that he made mention, in which I already deliberated on. Honorable Speaker, on the same page 59, 196, the National Debt Service. Honorable Speaker, almost 25% of the budget is going on what? Debt services. And then, Honorable Speaker, we the politicians per se, or we want representing the people on the ground. We do have a lot of complaints, and I want the Honorable Minister to make it very clear to this August Assembly. All these debts, when and how were they accumulated? Because we cannot be giving examples to the 30 years, the 22 years, and the 7 years of the current government. If they can have this amount of debt on them, 22 years it was less than this, 30 years it was less than this, what is going wrong? Where is the problem? If you are spending 24% of our budget on debt, only servicing debt, and where there are also debt referral for 5 years, not factored here, then come next 2025, where are we? Where will we be? Honorable Speaker, I think I would love the Honorable Minister to guide us through and tell us how did it happen and why it is up to this stage. We still pay this much of the amount of our own current budget, 25% of it going to this. Honorable Speaker, I think it is also important also for the Honorable Minister also to help us. That's the Ministry of Finance. They have their FME system, which is also going on. They're also spending money on that. Yes, the systems are good. It's welcoming. But the projects under your ministry, are they using the system? Are they using the system? And why are we always targeting paying consultants to come and work on these systems? Where are our young Gambians? Where are our trained Gambians who can be trained to have our own system in this country? People do come here for benchmarking in this country. They go back and now they are setting up their own systems. Like of Rwanda, they were here in 2009 on what the benchmarking on a working system. Now they are having their own systems. Why not our own Gambians? We have young ones here. Let's give them the rooms. Let's help them. Let's give it to them to start setting up issues like this. Let them come with systems that can also help us, than always depending on systems that are given us by outsiders. Tomorrow when they look at their doors, where are we? We start struggling again. We got an example of the SIMLEC. SIMLEC, where is SIMLEC today? SIMLEC at our time, SIMLEC was not functioning, not in operations. They ceased operating. Why? Because they are forcing government on what they want, not what we want, but what they want. You must come to what we want, and then we agree, and then we sign a contract. When SIMLEC was competing with a Gambian, and they said no to the Gambian and give it to SIMLEC as a foreigner. Now SIMLEC is conditioning us. Give me your passport, give me A, B, C, and D. Now we are giving all that belongs to us, our safety, our security, to SIMLEC to operate as another entity outside of the country. Let's look at things properly and start helping our own Gambians. Let's help them. And also, when we are helping them, also, they also help ourselves as Gambians also. Let's have the big hearts. Let's think outside the box. Let's think big. The only thinking of I'm not the past, worry my elect. Let's think of I'm not the past, baby, let's think of a whole year fish money, that only a daily fish money. Let's think in that area. Let's think big as Gambians. But for us as Gambians, we always think very low. It's very sad. Honorable Speaker, on the drug issue, the minister made, as I mentioned, 240 million for drugs. I have a problem here in which I want the minister to also help me. On the drug revolving fund, is it still in operation? The drug revolving fund, is that account still there? Because if it is happening, I made a little bit of research, maybe you can help me. that there are funds lying down there. What are those funds meant for? Can they be used to help the hospitals? Or are they being used for something else? Or are they not in existence? We need to know those doctor revolving funds, where are they? What are they used for? If it is coming, it is meant for drugs. I think it's better, if you look at the amount that has been mentioned here, it's a big amount, but if you could help us also on where those funds are kept, whether it is still in existence or the account is not still happening or not, you need to help us, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, also in your speech, I have seen that from your ministry of Foreign Affairs, where we have 30 million for 30 for Abuja, 30 for Senegal, and then 20 for Brussels to build in quarters for our staff or offices for our embassies. If I could recall, I think there was money being allocated to Dakar. Was it 10 million? When we came in new, I had my colleagues mentioning that. How far have they gone with that 10 million? And Abuja, how far are they going with the construction in Abuja? Because if you allocate 30 million for Abuja, and then 20 for Brussels, and then 30 for Dakar here, what kind of structures are we targeting? What are we targeting for Dakar? And then, it's a bit confusing to me that maybe it's more expensive in Brussels than in Dakar. Because in Brussels, we change it in foreign currency and then we transfer it down there. And in Dakar, we just next day, neighbor, which is the CFA is cheaper than the dollar or the euro. It might be cheaper to spend in Dakar than spending in Brussels. So what are we targeting in Dakar and also what are we also targeting in Brussels based on the figures being mentioned here? I think these figures need to be looked at properly because yes, it's good. I'm not saying that we should not spend on our embassies, but it's also good, Honorable Speaker, for us to start also being very careful and also tax our embassies. Yes, we are doing much. We expect much from you. Let's be giving you, but see what we can also give back to the country. Than the minister going down everywhere, foreign affairs minister going down everywhere, knocking on doors, and then what they want representing, what can they do? What are they doing? It's important. So, Honorable Minister, I think these ones needs to be looked at properly and also see what do we think that we can do to compare these three things. Honorable Speaker, just to conclude, to the Minister, to his speech, it's going to be very difficult if we need changes. We must be well prepared and start taking blames. Let them blame us today, and tomorrow those coming can enjoy. But if we are running away from blames, honestly, this country will never change. Even the SIGs that we are talking about, should we continue subventing SIGs? And if you go to the schools, they are telling you they are not receiving it. They are not receiving much as expected. I was going down in schools in my area. I went on tour to visit those schools. What they were telling me, up to that time I was there last month, they don't receive their SIGs. How are they able to operate? They cannot operate. So Honorable Speaker, I'm suggesting here that let's go back to the same ball game again. When schools are opening, let's tax parents to pay $100 per child, and let the school start with that before government giving them money. But they cannot go to school and then you cannot have the learning materials to wait for government to give them their subvention. Let's see how much can government pay, how much can parents contribute towards government. Then every time, things, we have been trying to make it possible, and it's not possible. Let's go back to the old days. When parents were giving us chairs to go to schools, paying everything for us, you had good students. Now students are failing every day. Everything is free. Free food, free job, free health, free education. And yes, you don't have what we want. Honorable Speaker, I think it's high time we start looking at things and start changing this standard every time giving to government for government to be paying. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Joshua. I now invite the Honorable Member for Nyanija. He's withdrawing. I now invite the honorable member for Old-Yundum.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll be brief, because earlier on I wanted to move a motion that we cancel the debate and then proceed with whatever we were supposed to do. But then it's good that my colleagues took the floor and then have their say on the budget speech. Honorable Speaker, I want to be positive partly on the budget speech, but of course I have some little concerns maybe probably the Minister will be able to address. First of all, what I wanted to say is I want to thank the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs with all his staffs for bringing a detailed budget speech in the National Assembly that is broken down into pieces for at least members of Parliament to understand most of the areas that probably in my 6 years in Parliament, I mean, there were budget speeches, but this one is something for me. At least I have seen areas that I have not seen in the previous budget speeches. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Minister, for that. Honorable Speaker, part of the budget speech, the Minister and the government mentioned something that is very important for the country. And a lot of us, especially the citizens, lose sight of that, and we don't even talk about it. But I think it's important for us to highlight, at least for others to understand. And I know people knows about it, but then they don't just pay attention. On page 10, the Minister said in the budget speech, on paragraph 6, on the fiscal front, as at the end of October 2023, the government provided subsidies on fuel products to the tune of 479 million to ease the effect of high global fuel prices. When you go out there, everybody, all of us are driving vehicles, and a lot more citizens also have their vehicles driving out there. But they purchase fuel at a lesser price than expected. And that is as a result of government intervention to subsidize the cost for citizens. And I think that's a good point for the government. But how many of us are talking about that? Nobody is talking about it. I just wanted to ask the Minister this question, whether this subsidy is still going to continue on, because I know it supported a lot of people. I'm not giving you a chance. What do you want to observe? Sit down. So, for the issue for me is it supported a lot of people, and that is why the Minister highlighted in the budget speech. So that has created a gap or a burden on the government. Probably all the things that they are supposed to do, because they are leaving a lot of revenue gap that they were supposed to collect and, implement or spend it on sectors that are going to change the life of the people in other areas, but they are not doing it. At least they are leaving it in this area for citizens to benefit from that, which is good, and I appreciate that. I want it to continue because I know fuel price will increase again. I'm not sure what is the policy of the government in terms of the fuel subsidy when it comes to 2024 or 2025 going forward. But I think it's a good thing. And every citizen must talk about that, because that is the area where government is doing better as well. Because when they subsidize fuel price for citizens to be able to purchase fuel at a lesser amount, we should be able to thank the government for that bold step. Honorable Speaker, that is one aspect of the budget, and I think that is good. The Minister mentioned it. The Women Enterprise Fund, Honorable Minister.
Observation, just, please.
You're observing me?
Yes, please. Okay. Yes, you have highlighted a very good point. Please add it and ask the Minister about the sustainability of what you're talking about. It's a good point, but sustainability is another important thing, because it's a whole plan. Please.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I just want to add that, if the government continues with this fuel subsidy, when fuel goes down, the government should not also should continue to receive what they should receive to be able to augment this. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah, thank you.
How do you think, Minister? You heard what they said. And I think that my point is, I wanted to highlight the issue for citizens to know that government is doing well in this area and they are subsidizing fuel for the citizens. That is what I wanted to highlight. So the minister had all of you. The other part, Honorable Speaker, I wanted to highlight too is the Women Enterprise Fund. We enacted this bill in the National Assembly in the 5th legislature, and I think it's doing well. Of course, it may have some effects, but that is normal. In every new initiative that you bring in, there may be, some hitches out there, and we understand that. But I think the initiative of bringing Women Enterprise Fund to support women in the country is a good step. And this, in the 5th legislature, I remember, a lot of women groups benefited from the fund that was allocated by the government to support their initiatives. And again, I have seen that in the budget, about 17 million is allocated again for the Women Enterprise Fund, or moving forward. So I just wanted for people to understand that these areas are life-changing, initiatives for the people that government is putting money in. And not only that, you have a lot of them. If you go to, infrastructure, government is putting a lot of money in infrastructure. But we are not talking about them. And these are life-changing, expenditures for the citizens. From 2023, we have seen the huge amount of money that was invested in the area of infrastructure. And 2024 as well, the chunk of the money is gone there. But of course, they are telling you as well, 26% of the budget is being allocated for the social sector, that is education, health, and agriculture. So I think that is a good step for us to understand, and everybody out there. Of course, the budget, deficit is huge, and we understand that is the Gambia. But as we move forward, I think the deficit will come down. Prioritization will come in for us to be able to reduce the deficit moving forward. Honorable Minister, one of the concerns I have is when you go to communication. Part of it, I wanted to ask this question because I know the state-owned enterprises, one of them is Gamtel, that is currently, crawling. And we understand the gateway is still there. We have not seen commitment by the government to, give this gateway to Gamtel so that, they can revive what they have been doing in those old days. So that area is a concern for me because I know if Gamtel is revived and telecommunication is, under their responsibility, we'll be able to get more resources and then they'll be able to pay more dividend and support the operations of government in other areas as well. So that area I just wanted to understand. Maybe is the ministry thinking about that in the future? Because I have seen you said you are going to revive Gamtel, but you're going to privatize Gamcell. In reviving Gamtel, are you thinking of returning the gateway to Gamtel so that they can continue their operations? Honorable Minister, as well, the budget speech also highlighted a lot of good things about the Minister of Youth and Sports. And as an advocate, I think under the youth sector, one of the recommendations I also wanted to make, because I've seen the budget allocation for Minister of Youth and Sport, both youth and sports. If you look at the implementation, many a time you see that the allocation for the sports sector alone will consume the entire budget, and then the youth sector will be left without anything. So it's a recommendation, probably the government will think about that. Either to think of, differentiating these two ministries, having a youth ministry of its own, and the youth ministry, because youth sports alone is very lucrative currently. And I think moving forward, Gambia should think of operating, the whole ministry for sports alone. A lot of young people are venturing into sports now as a form of business or whatever. So having that alone is going to support our country, to be able to support the young people to go out there and then, and as whatever we are supposed to get as a country. Because like Senegal is doing, I think they have a whole ministry on sports and they're concentrating more on that area as well, generating a lot of income from their professional players and all other sectors in both the sporting fraternity. So I expect the government to think about that. The youth sector also has a lot of components. If you go to the National Youth Council, MEDIA and others are all components under the Minister of Youth alone. Empowering young people in other areas. So that area also is very important because business for youths, for government to also, allocate enough resources for the youth sector. Of course, there must be that sector that is going to coordinate and, avail the young people to venture into skills development, give them more money to operate and then, generate the necessary funds that they are supposed to get. So we have to distinguish the two. if you allocate 100 million for Minister of Youth and Sports, sometimes it's difficult to understand how much money is going to the youth component alone and how it goes to the sports component. When there is sports event, a lot of the money is going there as well. You know, like the African Cup of Nations now, we are expecting a lot of money to be spent on the African Cup of Nations, which is on the sport. So how much is going to go on the youth sector? So that is an area that I also want the minister or the government to continue thinking about. Of course, the revenue front, Honorable Minister, like my colleague alluded, you have highlighted a lot of things that I personally appreciate because these are good. Like I said, in my 6 years in Parliament, I have seen budget speeches, but at least this one has been simplified for me to understand. But of course, I appreciate your staffs. They have been doing very well. They work very hard under both ministers. Like my colleague highlighted, the revenue front, if you look at, Honorable Speaker, with your permission, let me. Sorry. I missed it. Sorry, Honorable Speaker. I missed the page number, that's why. It's not 65, sorry. Yes. Anyway, I'll get there. Honorable Speaker, like I said, the introduction of the new taxes on cigarette, tobacco front, we really appreciate that because that is one of the areas also we expect the government to generate funding. But of course also with the issue of taxes that you talk about, that is the tax, the withholding tax on the rent. I have the same issue with my colleague. He has a very good question. What are the mechanisms in place to be able to monitor, like a tenant holding, a percentage of what is supposed to pay to the landlord? How is the ministry going to get that money from the tenant? How is he going to pay? What are the mechanisms in place? Those things should come up because these are very good things. If everybody understands that you are supposed to withhold 8% of what you are paying to the landlord, as a tenant, and you are supposed to domicile that money to, a competent authority, let's say like the Minister of Finance or wherever revenue collectors, that is good for our country. We will get a lot of resources. But how many of us will be able to understand and how many will be ready to do that? So there must be a mechanism in place to be able to monitor that so that citizens will understand. It's nothing bad. I know in another way around, the landlords also will have their say, but that is good for our country. There are people in this country who have their residence that are being given out on rent, and they don't even live there. All the house is given out for rent. You understand? So money should come from that avenue. But how are we going to monitor it? How do we get the resources that we are supposed to get from that area? Is something that we need to ask the minister. I don't know, when you were formulating this, I don't know how do you expect to tackle it, but of course it's important for members also to know, because as representatives, when we are talking to our people, we should be able to tell them what they are supposed to do. And if we see anybody not, adhering to the rule, we should also be able to, to step forward and make it happen for the Gambia. So those areas are important, Honorable Speaker. Apart from that, all the sectors that the minister mentioned, I think is good because personally, I have supported the budget from initiative, from when it started. My conviction was that the budget for the Gambia, will pass as a pro-government MP. Nothing would stop that. But the sectors, I believe the minister going forward also we need to, scale up and see the sectors coming up with, programs that are also life-changing programs for the citizens as well. A lot of money will be allocated for ministries, but at the end of the day, if you look at the development aspect of it, sometimes it's very minimal. And the result for that is we have limited programs for those sectors. So they have to scale up. They have to think, outside the box and bring in things that will change the narrative. The incremental budgeting system of the Gambia, of course, I don't know how would we change that, but moving forward, we need to think of how do we expand and bring in programs that for National Assembly, when budgets are in the National Assembly, we don't even have second thought. We will continue approving the budgets for the ministry sector so that they can implement what they are supposed to do. The focus should not only be on approving budget for salaries and other recurrent expenditures, but also for the development aspect of it is important. Honorable Speaker, I think I have exhausted what I wanted to say. With those few remarks, I expect my colleagues to all support the budget speech of the minister that has been articulated very well. All areas has been touched, and I think it has been simplified for us to understand. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to take my seat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Old Yundum. Honorable members, I think we should remind ourselves about the fact that the budget estimates was scrutinized by us effectively, and that we went into the Committee of Supply, we looked at it line by line, we agreed on it, we adopted it and approved it. The appropriation bill here is an extraction from that budget estimates. That's why in our debate we said we should confine ourselves to the financial and economic state of the Gambia, and of course to the general principles and policies of government. But if you think we can go into the figures to see whether this figure is small and big, we have done that. We have just done that. So we cannot do that now. This is the honorable member's contribution for Old Yundum that reminded me of those things. If you look at the contribution, it's almost all on the policy administration of government. And that's the key. But the figures, we cannot do anything now. So I now invite the honorable member for Banjul Central.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for granting us the opportunity. I'll also try my best to be very succinct. We thank the Honorable Minister for bringing forth to this August body this important budget speech that entailed government's aspirations for the coming year, but also equally highlights some of the constraints and also the fiscal projections for the coming year. I should also not do justice without acknowledging the importance of the introduction of systems like the IFMIS and the Asukuta wall that has really helped us in augmenting our resource mobilization processes. It's really proving dividend, and I think these are areas that we should do our level best to make it more proper. I would also just like to start off with the Women Enterprise Fund, just like my colleagues highlighted. There's been an augment with regards to its budget, 17 million, which is good. However, it's proving dividend for the women folk, because these are projects that are going directly to the grassroots level. And we all know that women are a very core ingredient in this, our social nation development, and that helping them with finance to make sure their enterprises are flourishing is very key. However, I would just like for the Honorable Minister to help us in terms of the disbursement aspect of things. Though it's been proved dividend, I would say. However, the way some of the disbursements have been going need to be revisited because I think training programs need to be conducted for them. But also, most of these groups, some of these groups, they do share the monies within themselves. And if you look at the ratio per individual, usually it doesn't, really prove much to be able to enhance their livelihoods. So these are areas that I think should be formalized, the processes, to be able to make sure that this value for money is seen in these initiatives. Honorable Speaker, on the Minister of Youth and Sports, we've seen that there has been a slight augmenting with regards to the youth budget. However, we are still not satisfied because we cannot constitute 60 or more % of the population, and given 122 million as our budget. And then again, you have two ministries, that's youth and sports. Youth issues alone are cross-cutting, like Honorable Member for Oluyundum said. The ministry has its satellite institutions, NEDI, you name it, NYSS, National Youth Council, and the like. And for your information, most of these institutions, especially National Youth Council, are funded by UN agencies. They usually help them in most of their activities because of budgetary constraints. I have a lot of young people who usually come up and put out their complaints with regards to having some of their activities not being funded well, or the participation or engagement they usually expect from the NYC usually is not forthcoming. It's because of the small budget allocation that the ministry is giving. That's why I have been advocating this since coming into Parliament, that we need to split the ministry, like the Honourable Member said. Because right now there is a sport levy, and we know that sport is enhancing. Now we are champions in volleyball. Recently I saw that there's a Gambian who does taekwondo and stuff like that abroad. Within no time we'll be competing in the Olympic Games. So sport is also expanding, and the sport levy is not enough to sustain these things. So, Honourable Speaker, I think these are all areas that, though, as you said, we approve the budgets, we make the budgetary cuts, it's been debated here, so it's just something that I just wanted to highlight here for us to be seeing these institutions on a broader perspective as well. With regards to the budget speech, Honourable Speaker, I would just like to make a budget performance review. Just if we are to date things back, I would just like to pick things with regards to the medium-term economic fiscal framework, that is from 2023 to 2026. I think we've all been debating year on about the budget being the same always. The budget is always similar year on year, right? So there is not much things to debate on with regards to, there's nothing new, absolutely. So every year we just speak on the same issues. So my mind went to, the idea to have a holistic plan as to exactly how can we manage our economy based on a clear roadmap. So this medium-term economic fiscal framework came in to guide our fiscal processes. So if you look in 2022, the budget, it was made to align with this medium-term economic fiscal framework. And, it was revisited as a macro fundamental. Some of the, once we looked into it deeply, the macro fiscal fundamentals, it was discovered that there's been a deviation regards to its original projections, right? And this has caused a lot of major shortfalls in our revenue and also increase in our expenditure as well. So this, with this, we were able to make cuts, and also I would applaud the government with regards to that, some postponements with regards to some very important some projects that are deemed, not too much of a priority, we are postponed, which was a very good move. And then the groundnut subsidy was removed as a measure. There has also been reallocations in some areas as well. And also, then you have the fuel subsidy that was also done. But then again, we had an increment in the salary scale of the civil service. So if you look at all these things put together, it really doesn't make much sense. Because then again, I think if the increment was based on a structural level, it would have helped. For example, those that are high earners would have increments based on a certain percentage. And those that are in the lower echelon will be able to at least have their salaries augmented. But I think I think we meant good as a parliament, but I think next time, when these things are brought to us, we should look at things on a structural level. That is, for example, there's been a 30% increment across the board, which means those that are, high earners, their emoluments will increase rapidly, and those that are down also will increase. So that's really also a big deterrent with regards to our fiscal management processes. Also, under the medium-term economic fiscal framework, Honorable Speaker, there was this debt management strategy that was initiated to help government with regards to their financing needs, to also lessen cost, to help us in prudence of, in terms of the degree of the risk that we endure. And also, there's been consensual external, it will help in making consensual external financing, but also help in our borrowing plan and guide, as a guide, the implementation, it will also be as a guide to implementation of some of our spending. So, Honorable Speaker, in 2022, if we look at our debt forecast, there's 31 billion in 2022. In 2023, it's been pegged at 35 billion. And there's been a recent IMF study, IMF Sustainability Analysis study, that says that the Gambia is at a risk of having a high debt distress, Honorable Speaker. If you look at our inflation rate right now, it's at 18%, and our debt portfolio is on the rise. There's also these tax increments that are upcoming. Also, handling fees and handling charges are on the increment. So by the time these items, the increments incurred, by the time these items get to the end user, also there will be a drastic increment in some of these basic commodities that we will be buying. I think this is a cause of concern, Honorable Speaker. If we look at page 25, if you look at page 25 of the budget speech, sorry, 1 second. Sorry, page 25 of the medium-term economic fiscal framework, Honorable Speaker, some of the reforms that were projected were the restructuring of and rationalization of subvented agencies, right? I don't think this has been met yet. Domestic revenue mobilization strategy.
Sorry, Honorable Member.
Yes.
You are making references to what?
No. It's not with. My reference is not. It's based on the medium-term economic fiscal framework. I'm just trying to.
Okay. All right.
Just to make a. I'm just trying to make a point. Under the projected reforms, also, we are the rationalization and repositioning of foreign missions, which really we haven't seen yet. Part of it was also to have a vehicle policy to help to streamline the purchase of vehicles, fuel, maintenance, among others. Also, the institutionalization of a common travel policy that we've seen that at least there's been partial implementation of that. We've seen that certain embargoes have been done with regards to travel processes by the government. So, Honorable Speaker, with regards to all these things that I've mentioned, I'll just take an example, for example, when we had our bilaterals, the Minister of Works, we weren't able to make any budgetary cuts from them because actually they even had owings. We discovered that over $1 billion worth of IPCs we are owed to these contractors. And we are still seeing more projects have been laid, more projects, more foundation stones have been laid. You understand? It doesn't make any sense to me. And then again, though we understand that it's for a good purpose, I think we also just cannot augment the tax base on our people to levy tax on them year in, year out when we have shortfalls. We can also look at the waivers, for example. We know that some of these contractors, based on their capital projects, waivers are given to them to be able to do their work. However, I think a slight percentage can be put into these areas to help at least reduce, to augment our revenue base as well, Honorable Speaker. If we go to page 59 of the budget speech under debt service, Honorable Speaker, debt service payments have increased from 4.3 billion in 2020, will increase from 4.3 billion in 2023 to 7.5 billion in 2024. And this debt service comprises of more than 25% of our total budget, Honorable Speaker. This means if you add both the Minister of Education, Minister of Health, Minister of Agriculture, all these sectors, if you combine them, our national debt service is even way past this. So we are in really in high debt distress, Honorable Speaker. So my question would be, in a nutshell, Honorable Minister, the domestic economy, we had a choice between interventions in the growth aspect of things or to curb inflation. So from all these things that I've made mention, it seems like government is trying to do, is just trying to jungle. Yes, it's trying to jungle between things. It doesn't make any sense, and it really doesn't align with the debt management strategy. So in 2022, this was revisited because it didn't align with the macro fundamental, projections. It really deviated from it, from the original projections, and we had shortfalls in our revenue and also expenditure, basis. So really, I don't know what government is trying to do with this, and I want to know if, Honorable Minister, if you could help us. Does this still align with the medium-term economic fiscal framework, or do you feel that there's been a bit of deviation towards this, and what are your ministry's plans to really augment this area? Yeah. On that note, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Banjul Central. I now invite the Honorable Member for Jara West. Pardon? I now invite the Honorable Member for Fonyi Jaro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And may I also thank the Honorable Minister of Finance for a very good report, and then for simplifying the report that even you are not an economist, you'll be able to interpret the report. I just have some concerns and doubts. Like, it's all very unfortunate, like some of the members have already mentioned it here. It's the Ministry of Finance that defend the implementation, those who are going to implement the budget. And they are not here to be able to hear the feedback from the Member of Parliament. Like, if you look at the report on the speech on page 10, like, we are saying that 30% basic salaries increment implemented last year has helped civil servants cope with the increasing cost of living. I think what needs more to be done on the budget is like the control measures that need to be put in place. because those people who are going to implement are not here with us. And then my judgment is always about the reports that are coming to the National Assembly. Yes, government can be doing good things. We say they are doing good things, but what matters most is the impact to the lives of the people that we budgeted for. So if they are doing good things and there is no positive impact, we cannot continue saying that they are doing good things. Because look at the economic pressure on the households. That is causing this economic migration that I call it. Although we call it illegal migration, for me it's an economic migration. Almost every week, every day, families, villages are mourning the loss of their loved ones. And you look at the contradiction here. We say 30% that we increase our families. But when you look at, again, inflation remains high and continues to erode households' purchasing power. I will not be doubtful, come 1st of January, when even the watermelon, people will just increase the price from one watermelon, $250 to $500. Because people have started spreading the news everywhere. That tax is going to be increased. And there will be no control measures. Even those people who are renting, the landlords, all of them will start to increase things. How do we control that? Because immediately come 1st January, everybody is talking about it. They say they're going to increase this. They say they're going to increase this. Come January, everything will be increased. No one will be there to control. And then it's the poor people who are paying the price. You look at, again, the global crude oil prices, like our electricity. Look at just the tariff. It's already been increased. So what is the 30% increment for? If you look at the person who is earning like $3,000, it's only $900 that is increased. This $900 is immediately it was increased. Everything was increased. The house rent, the basic food commodities, rice, oil, everything has gone up. So where has this 30% increment impacted the lives of our people? And then you come to job creation again on employment. I attended the Meet the People store. At the meeting there, that I voiced out. Because we stated here, we approve. It's not about bringing budgets here every year, we come just approve them as a custom. We approve. After the approval, we go around, there's nothing positive. All of us belong to committees, various committees. Let's look at our reports. There are committees that probably we need to praise, but out of 10, if you don't mind, it's 1 or 2. Because all the committees that I belong to, if I'm to praise, I'm going to praise the Women Enterprise Fund, which is the gender ministry. They are doing fantastic. You come to the higher education. But look at those of us who are in FPAC. We look at the financial reports that are coming. And those people who are going to implement this budget, they are not here. All we are mentioning will be Russia-Ukraine war. But the other pandemic, that is corruption, that is eating up all and crumbling all our institutions. It's never been discussed. How do we control that? Come at the end of the 12 months, we come here, it's just a custom, we budget, and after they are there. Because one, if we get the wrong people in positions, how do they implement? People who don't understand what they're supposed to do. All they will be asking for is funds to come, and the way to put it in, how to monitor it, how to evaluate it. They don't know. So it's a matter of we sitting here debating. Pro-government will start praising if one road is constructed. Those of us who they thought is anti, who are just critical of issues, when we talk, they say it's opposition. But go around and listen to the Gambians. Go around the country. Everybody's crying. Institutions are crumbling. Some are even closing. Like as I speak to you, AMRC is gone. The cleaners, the drivers are staying at home, and we said we are creating jobs. We look at the budget again, foreign exchange market, the way they are operating. They said it has a lot of challenges. If you want, you can sit here, and then it's the foreign currency that dictate the prices of basic commodities, because we use foreign currency to import. Now, if this is not controlled, and then our consumption is mostly on these imported goods, how do we control the price? There is no salary increment this year. And then now the 30%, if you look at it, even we increased it January. January, everything went up. It's like we did not make any increment. Where's the impact? The ministers are not here. I always say this. Yes, you can belong to a political party. But when it comes to the appointment of people into offices, it should not be about party issues. It should be about people who know the job. People who will be able to move things. But you appoint people to wrong positions to execute this budget. What are you going to expect? other than failures. We said 150,000 jobs within 5 years. The past year, are we able to create even 30,000 jobs when other institutions are even closing? AMRC has already been closed. Julburi is gone with 241 workers. AMRC, the cleaners and drivers and others, I know they will be sitting at home. And others will follow. Imagine, people are even confused here. Late payment of salaries, people are blaming the National Assembly members. Do people even know their roles now? Somebody is taking out an audio to blame that National Assembly members are selfish. Are we the Minister of Finance? People are getting confused in this country. And then we also start to blame the security forces. Yes, these back-pay boys, I call them, they are economic migrants. The pressure in the homes is forcing them to go. We can't blame government, we can't blame ourselves. But now let's look at those who are supposed to control, like the interior, and then Navy. Where are those Navy ships, Navy boats that were there? All disappeared, immediately 2017, 2018, even sold it to Senegal. All disappeared. Those are the patrolling boats within the seas. What are we now going to do? We look at the budget here, these millions, and then our revenue, we're supposed to get it through our tax, grants, and borrowings. Now we continue borrowing. Now we are saying 102 billion, already the debt that we owe. And then now people have stopped dividing the amount that we're supposed to pay. That used to happen, that each Gambian should owe, or should pay to our debt. Now that one has stopped now. But before, every Gambian was calculated to be paying $20, is 25. But now the calculation has stopped. Just let's look at this. I have no problem with this, the Ministry of Finance. You come here, did a very good job, you budgeted, but when it comes to implementation, you people are not going to implement. The National Assembly is not going to implement. It is us even going out on our oversight functions. Immediately we go around, anyone we say you are not doing well, you are an enemy or you are an opposition. Or they just buy your pocket to keep you silent. The journalists started writing, those who are critical, 1 minute they will stop writing. Where the pressure is coming, I don't know. So it's something that is funny. How do we move Gambia? Definitely, where we are, if you look at things the way they are, it's sometimes shameful to call yourself a civil servant of this country. Because the pressure that is meeting our families is not good for us. Look at these millions they here. Everyone now, you go, the talk is about tax. They are increasing tax. People even start increasing tax before tax is even increased. This is what is going to happen come January. Even our own products that we produce here, people will increase. Landlords will start to increase. They are just waiting. When you increase what you say, like what we say, what we need to create here is not about increasing our taxes. But we have to improve the economy of our people. That's the first thing we should do. Because when you increase the tax, those people who are providers of services to those people who are consuming would suffer. Because today I am there, you increase tax for the person who has a lot of houses to rent out. When you increase tax for him, he's going to increase his rent. My salary still is stagnant at $3,000. How do I pay my rent? The next minute I am forced to leave Bagway. Economic migrants, these are not Bagway. We even call it illegal. It's not illegal. Because when you come to the UN capital, it's already dictated there. Free movement of people to reside in any country they want to. What are we doing? It's becoming, look at our fisheries again, you look at the budget, they say tourism. Look, we need serious people to occupy positions. We need serious people to occupy positions to move this country forward. It should not be about political compensation of people into positions. This is what is happening. When you talk there against you, how do you compensate somebody because he's a political or affiliated to a party? And then you employ that guy to become a minister or a director. All he's there is to look for people, he's an opposition, send him out. All the committed or people who are competent to handle these positions would be moved out of the way or even be sidelined. And then the next one they're going to say they are opposition. Is it that opposition don't have the right to work for this government, this country? It is happening. The tourism they are saying is expected 2026, which means anything we are doing, all what we are discussing here, go around. You'll even find, you think that what they were talking about in the books here, and when you go around, it's just that day and night. But when you say it, it's a problem. The budget is well written. The Minister of Finance has done his job because you have brought in analysis, sampling out overseas, the US economy, the India economy, Chinese economy. So we are able to analyze under what is expected here. These are just predictions. The budget is just a plan. It's just a guide. But when it comes to implementation, all our expectations will be based on what? The tax that we're supposed to collect, the borrowings that we're going to make, and the grants that we're going to make. And then all these things is going to be managed by people who don't even know what they are doing. They are busy driving and running at different directions. You go, because for me, I said, I'm not going to stay away from, because you are a pro-government person, I should stay away from you. I am serving my people, and when I come to the National Assembly here, I don't belong to any political party other than my country. I am going to say things as they are, without looking into the eyes of anybody. You can be my enemy, you can be my friend. But it is about the country. People are suffering, the youths are suffering. We will come here and say the jobs are created. It was very shameful when I was at a rally for someone to tell me that Gambia is among the fastest developing countries within the sub-region. What is development then? I was saying to myself, maybe I have to go and find someone to talk to me. Gambia being the fastest developing country within the sub-region. When our people are migrating every day, and then they say they disagree with me. People are graduating from the university, from 𝒕𝒕𝒑𝒖𝒃𝒆, no jobs for them. And you are saying you are the fastest growing economy. You talk about, we are looking at the budget deficit. It's almost how much? 5 point something. You look at the report here, this budget speak. Everything is going in the wrong direction because we have wrong people in the wrong positions. They should not even be there. And then they are just there using the political tool to just defend themselves there. All those people are committed and hardworking at it. Like the police now, we might say we blame them. Imagine a police officer who is there to protect these ships that are going, or these vessels. Even his pocket there, he has no even dollars to buy the Casper at home. Before you do something, before to fight corruption, you make sure that you have to look at the welfare of that person before you are able to fight corruption. We will be talking here, but all those people are going to talk good about, it's not about against the government. Let's go back to our reports. I would be very happy for anyone to bring reports that are positive. All these institutions, interior, we go there. Defense, we go there. Everybody's complaining. Now, even our SOEs, salaries are received the following month, 5th or 10th. Next minute, they will not even be receiving salaries. What are the control measures that we are going to put in place? Are we going to hold people responsible for the mismanagement? If not, we will just be end of 12 months. We come here, they are late to receive their salaries. We are not Minister of Finance. They blame the National Assembly members. And then I always say it, I'm always defending the National Assembly members. We are very much connected and committed to our people. All of us here, we are doing something for the community. Even our salaries, we are sharing with them. But sometimes it is us they disrespect. They think that we are doing nothing for them. But those people we are approving this million, because we are not the ones who are going to exclude these millions that we are approving here. We're going to give it to them. Go there, no job is even created. I've asked anyone to go to any institution. They said they have already, employment is not a problem. And then they will say, we sign with Dubai, we sign with Saudi Arabia. So who is going to Saudi Arabia and who is going to Qatar for this employment? They say thousands of youths will go there. Those people who are there will start crying that they want to come back home. And they are saying they are signing an agreement. Or look at the agreements that we have done. Even like look at the fisheries. What is happening at the fisheries sectors? Go to Tangier, go to Gunjur. Our own resources, you cannot even pay for them. Because why? We have given license to vessels that have even dominated our seas. We cannot even know the number of vessels that are fishing in our seas. And then we are here that after the end, they started blaming the National Assembly is not doing anything. What do they expect us? We are not the ones to exclude this budget. We are approving this for ministers and directors. Ministers and directors are hired based on their political affiliation, not based on knowledge and experience. Or they have the idea how to implement. You give a budget to someone who does not know what a budget deficit is. How does that person implement things? And then we expect that we will start to blame us. The president must look for people who can move this country forward. If not, we will always be coming here at the end of the 12 months to just discuss and then go back. Nothing. In fact, things will be getting worse and worse. Our economy, look at inflation. In history, 18%. So where there is inflation, you expect the prices of basic commodities to come down? When our trading currency is always foreign exchange, you expect that when foreign exchange is not even controlled, you can just be here, call someone to just exchange your money? Someone will tell you $1 is 63. Someone will tell you $1 is 70. Next minute, you don't know who is now even dictating. This country has no control. You say they are not happy with you. But no control. No control of the economy, no control of our workplaces. We will hear the monies disappearing. When they disappear, the news will be published 1 week or 2 days. A new story is coming. Maybe the next thing to distract, they will come with Ghana. Ghana is suffering in Equatorial Guinea. To distract people. This is what they will do now. The enemies of Gambia, they have stolen everything, we'll forget about. Let me just stop here before they say I've gone out of topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Fonyi Jarol. I now invite the Honorable Member for Fonyi Kansala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I thank the Minister of Finance for ably, within this crucial period, you've invested a lot of your time and your concentration to this budget. We applaud you for that wonderful job. We really appreciate your effort in making sure today we are at the conclusion stage of the budget. Honorable Speaker, a budget we all know is a focus, a plan for a year of a 12-month period, executions of government's plans, ministries, and affiliated departments. Honorable Speaker, with the physical sector of economic, where the minister in his budget speech has highlighted on page 15, 24 of physical sector, where he has also talked about the enforcement exercise of successful implementation of the Ascuda wall, and also a version of GAM TaxNet in all tax offices. I think this is a plus, and this is a right move in the right direction to make sure our taxes are really put in the right place and also monitored based on systems. And this is the only way that we could change the narrative of the country, and without which we will be seeing divisions of different tax holders, where others will pocket their own the tax revenue that they have, and others will also utilize in another different way. Honorable Speaker, in that I also want this to put to the Finance Minister. We have revenue collections, as we all know, as a country, where some revenue collectors or tax, or again housing per se, are done in foreign currencies. How would those taxes be levied in those part of institutions or even housing, where we were told that there are no laws that are guiding what you pay, as your house rent. You could get up one day and use any currency and pay. Don't we have any financial guidelines towards this sector? If yes, what is behind that implementation? Because it seems our country will soon be taken over by foreign currencies, like of the dollars or the euros or the CFAs. Now, Dalasi is not really considered. So, as a ministry, what is your stand in this sector or in this area? Honorable Speaker, in area of increment for civil service, last it has increased for 30%, as some of my colleagues has alluded. But I'm putting this to the Honorable Minister. And the other part also, the saddest part that we have is we always see a minister finance your response for the budget. Come here alone, defend alone. We work together, and actually it is also approved. And other sectors will be saying that our budget for this year is what? Approved at the National Assembly. When you don't even see any. If you see, you only see staffs of Minister of Finance. So other ministries have no concern. And I know also, maybe others will say, based on standing orders, the ministers are not privileged to come, or based on law, the ministers, whatever. But I think if it is so, let's look at inwards, us as Parliament. we could make as a customer so as for them to hear. Since our considerations up to the last dot of this budget, they should not be left behind. Though they may not participate, but they also have a hand to see. And also tomorrow they will be able to say, the budget has went through proper scrutiny, and this is what they were also pushing towards. But if that doesn't happen, where it's only the custodian who is now holding the head, the load is on his head, he will come alone, work alone, and also do alone. Then implementation authorities for ministries or other agencies will also do their own say. I think we need to look at inwards. And it's high time for us to. These are laws. These are not Bible or Quran where you could say it is divine or it is a revelation. If it does, let's take the bull by the horn and we change to suit our current status quo. They have to be here. But here we are always seeing Minister of Finance. You defend, ask you, then you will now say, then we move as we are seeing. And I think this is not normal. And the other thing also, increment had happened. But my serious worry, in all sectors, you cannot go to the civil service pay, where you say your rental allowance. We are all here. We are all been paid differently. National Assembly are paid, civil service, we are also paid. But looking at the cognizance of all security apparatus, from interior down to defense, I was shocked in our last budget scrutiny, where as a committee, saw the CDS, the head of the army, a house rent is $1,700. CDS. That's why it's not an issue where we see a police officer as a sergeant. $250 is his pay. $250. So you see this. So here, if sectorial aspects, like other civil servants, who among the civil servant is paid this amount? We all know ourselves. Check your pay scale as a civil servant, or check us as National Assembly, how much are we paid? When these are the people who are on daily basis, standing in the sun, night, morning, afternoon, to protect our territorial integrity and our lives and properties. That's it. I think Minister of Finance, work with the line ministry, public service, for them to make a revamp issue to the security sectors. It is high time for, if there will no proper laid of a salary pay scale for all, even though if it comes, it will still be like the others who are benefiting will still continue to benefit. Those who are not will still not benefit. But I think now as a sector, for both interior and defense, we need to make serious consideration. Honorable Speaker, as per our budget deliberation, I think this was why, when our report was laid here, our budget, our report on defense and security, it has brought, a full awareness to members that whatever we are singing here is reality. They know. Based on our report, this is our report that we went, the length and breadth of the country between military installations and police. So I believe we could work better in the next budget to see that this area must be a changing ground. Lives of the security matters. It matters. And their earning also matters. Today, if you increase, as the minister has said, 30% increment was done. You will be taxed based on that increment. But how about their allowances? And we all know if we go in details of each and every one of our sectors, within cabinet, talk of the judiciary, you talk of the parliament, we talk of other organs of public services, they have various allowances. But in line of this, considerations should also be low to these people. And they could also see that they are part and parcel of this budget. And I believe it could be a right moment for them. And Minister of Finance, this is a tax where you could take it up with the line ministry to look at the security part. And again also, as per your report, you've also said that the TACOS is also under review, where the terms and conditions of service for the soldiers will also be reviewed. I think it will be of good if it is really fast-tracked. And I think it's for the benefit of men and women in uniform to see that they are also inclusive. And again also, Honorable Speaker, in the area of allocation, where we have both the Interior and Minister of Defense, you could realize that both ministries at page 62 Interior 200.205. At the Ministry of Interior, it says food and food service amounting to 115 million, including fuel and other issues. And again, also when you go to 206, Ministry of Defense also, food and food had been increased by 32%, amounting in 2023. Now, in 2024, it is increased to 25 million. Yes, it's a good work done, but what I want to put this to the Honorable Minister, Honorable Speaker, to the Honorable Minister, if he could assist. Sometimes, approval could be done where you buy XYZ2 barracks. We were informed that with all these issues that they normally have food and food service, but sometimes they still have challenges. Currently, there are barracks where they can they go and lend sugar. Just about not long ago, yesterday, I was informed. They go and lend bags of sugar, that there are no provision for sugar. They have to lend. Now, if their sugar comes now, they have to pay back. So they'll be continuing on this trial. I think it is high time for us to prioritize certain issues in those areas. Both the interior and the defense. You don't expect soldiers to be going out loaning subs for their ends meet. It is uncalled for. And it is the right moment for us to stop this. If not, we are now exposing them. So their commands will even be hiding. If a shopkeeper comes, don't tell them that I'm here, the commandant is here. So is that fair? But now when you go to the barracks, within the headquarters, they'll say, we have sent XYZ. We are also allegedly insinuating, and I don't know what benchmark, what mechanism would you put in place in these food and food services as the Minister of Finance to make sure whatever is purchased from Banjul here, transfer to the barracks. If it is 100 bags, in that bags, how much? A report on daily basis should be known. This is not for the commandant. This is not for the internal whatever. It is for the men and women in that barracks. And if it is fairly given, all these issues that they are facing will be a thing of the past. So I believe so. If the commandant will take, but the report base that we get annually, it becomes something else. So Minister of Finance, if there are any mechanisms that we put in, these are policies that you need to develop to make sure this caveat of food and food services. Because today you don't expect a soldier to be in a post, a paramedic to be in a post without a hungry stomach. He or she will not be able to do the job. But if it is really monitored and seen, it will make ends of this. But a lot of barracks visits, you hear them, we are owing sub so and so. We have to pay those amounts so and so and so. And when it's given now, they go back and pay as loan, and they start another loaning again. So I think this is not fair. And if you go to some of these barracks, the way you see their foods, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. And as far as we are concerned for this budget, an increment has been made. But I will also tax the committee for us to also stand up to make sure we put these checks and balances to make sure each and every of those barracks also realize, without which, it's going to be something else. So, Honorable Speaker, in that regard, I believe we will make a giant effort if collectively we work towards insinuating and making sure that the sufferation of men and women in uniform is a thing of the past. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member of Oyundum also talk about the youth, and also for Banjul Central also talk about Minister of Youth. I believe it's prudent. Now, I disagree with differentiating youth and sport. If you talk of the sports, it's mainly entirely onto the youths. The better thing that we could do is how do we augment, how do we increase, how do we think of putting policies and programs that will inform these two ministries. So if, for example, a minister cannot even come to defend the budget, or key stakeholders are not in line to make sure they work on defending their budget. So for me, I have seen that let's work, how do we increase their needs and aspirations? These are issues that will also help and also make an informed decision. But creating ministries for the sake of ministries, I am not in line with that. I think we should move away from those adages. And if there are sites that you may think of employing people, I think they better think twice, but not all this congested ministry that can also give us information. Honorable Speaker, in line of that, you look at the youth folk and also migration aspects. How do we come with policies and that will inform? The budget for the Ministry of Youth and Sport had different activities. GI said, 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏, these are all good brand programs that are available. But after their training, Honorable Speaker, Minister of Finance is here. After their training, what can they do to be able to be involved in the society? This is the problem. What can they do to be able to inform? Or what grant would they have that will also make changes to their life? So if you're given a 50,000, after buying your tools, whatever, you're done. At the end of the day, you'll now be moving from one end to another. I've attended this training, I've attended this. I think donors, when they come to the country, the ministry response should be able to at least, draw that caveat to say, this is what we want, and this is the way we want it, to make sure it's implemented this way. But sometimes they'll come with their own plan and say, we want it this way. So we now be clapping and said, hello, yes, I think we can follow. So this is the problem of donors. So I think the right footing is for the concerned ministry to come with programs that will be able to inform issues of the youths. Just of recently, Honorable Speaker, we have a tragedy incident where 214 or so youth had perished in the sea. About in Jambur alone, we're told about 41 youth. And in Jabang, it's about 21-something youths that have died. So this is a tragedy. And this is something that I think we could all put hands on deck to make sure we could work. But here, not only the youths you'll be blaming, but here also if you look at the security aspects, you go to Tanya, there is no patrolling boat. No patrolling boat for them to be able to stop this migration. And internally there are groups who are doing this, you pay this amount, do this, reach that area, and we even told that there are certain areas where they can even tell you the boat will be here and it will be transporting them to the main boat. But if you don't have gadgets for you to be able to patrol the sea, it becomes a challenge. So I think immigration should be of importance. The same applies to Navy. Honorable Speaker, we are even told that the boat that is around Mandinari by immigration experts in our budget says if it is to ride from Mandinari to Denton Bridge, about $30,000 for it of fuel to reach Denton Bridge. So you see, so if such boats are purely donated, they are purely donated. $30,000 is that you buy as fuel for it to reach Denton Bridge. It has 2 engines, very powerful, and it can even rust to the maximum of whatever. But the problem is affordability for them to be able to use them. It's a challenge. So these are all budget aspects that I think ministry and also the custodian of those particulars would be able to. And again, even you're donated. If you're donated such, if you cannot tell them that we will not be able to meet the demand of this, it's better than taking it at the end of the day you cannot even do or do the necessary. And again, of just recent, all these are happenings that we think will be able to at least put a stop to this migration. But without which, if our security are not empowered, the security will also join the migrants and they move. Look at our forces, police, army, you name it. A lot of them are joining. If you are to be in the sea, you don't have any other mechanism. What you do is you will drop your gun or drop whatever material you have and you join the boat. And these are things that are happening. So I think it's high time for us to put a mechanism or a policy in this. If not, we will just be drumming and also singing. The same issue will continue. Honorable Speaker, in the issue of health, the Ministry of Health, I believe also in areas of the health sector, we could look at it critically, that it says at page 8, point 202, second sentence. The countries committed to primary health care has led to the improved health, especially in maternal and child health and communicable diseases treatment. Now, this maternal and child health, I wonder the commitment of this ministry, where hospitals that have visited, their maternal health care units, you cannot even sit comfortably in that particular area. How would they talk of this healthcare improvement? You go to certain healthcare systems, it's applied. The conditions is unimaginable. So I think health sectors is high time for us to be serious. We bring policy that will inform. You know, free of everything free will not help. Even if they said the $100 that they're talking of consultation fee, are we saying when that is put in place, the entire medicine that you have will be free of charge? I think Minister of Health, in connection with Minister of Finance, should work on mechanisms to see that we have a policy that will guide our health sector. And again, also, they've also talked about issue of health insurance. But I think now about 36 million will be employed in the health insurance. I don't know what special aspect do they have in this health insurance and whether it will be attainable. This is a challenge. You know, we are on trials. We have something, RBF, that is functioning, that is going good. Why can't we make sure we solidify its ground? For me, I am more in support of RBF than health insurance. Because the only effort that we have seen health sectors or health hospitals nowadays, because of this RBF, they are now flying high. But if they come with insurance now, and the RBF is also a thing of the past, we will see a backwardness in terms of our issue. So, Honorable Speaker, in that regard, I think Minister of Finance, they should be in consultation with Minister of Health. I know they will only come with policies and programs. This is a policy, we want to do this, we want to X, Y, Z. Technocrats, they'll just ruin us at the end of the day before we realize now we are done. So I think we have to. When we have a system that is working, why going for a new system that we don't even know the fate of that particular system? Let's use a system that is working. And that's the only way forward, that we can see a trajectory of a country. But without which, we will be coming with different acronyms, beautifying them. At the end of the day, we will not even see what will be more of progressive in our doing. And Honorable Speaker, in terms of, a honorable member also spoke of something that is very interesting. Honorable member for Joshua, about this Semlex issue. I think it's high time. The country, our country, the Gambia, had a lot of software engineers that today they can change, they can design and develop any part of system that we think we could use in this country. But most of them now, as what he said, Semlex, go. You know, there are limitations. Today your data, even you want to change anything now, they have to authorize from Belgium or outside to authorize it for you. And even this birth registration that is going on, in our areas, I had to approach these health experts and also those guys who control the system here in my constituency. I was told that they cannot change any letter. They have to inform the authority in Belgium, wherever the source is, for them to make change. So it means our data is in the hands of other people. Are we serious as a country? Who must have even approved this? Who must have even assigned and said, let's walk through this particular system? Did they make their feasibility studies of all these things? So if our own data, we cannot make any changes. We don't have user rights. We cannot amend or do anything. Bringing systems should be a system that would be of informed, and we can do with that particular system. Our ID card is, you cannot do anything with it. Birth registration, you cannot. If there are errors in your name, they have to be forwarded outside. So are we fair as a country? When we have developers in this country, we have great experts in software engineering, we have great companies that can even design a system to put it a test in this particular country. But because of what? We may have interest with it. I think we have to cut those interests. We have to fill those holes for the survival of this country. Or else, we'll just be continuing in this limbo, and we will not even see any trajectory move. Honorable Speaker, on my last perf, we'll also talk about this SIG, you know, of schools improvement grant. I think it's high time we make a decision on this SIG. And this SIG also is also harming other staffs in schools, where if you're a caretaker or whatever, an auxiliary part of a school now, you are paid through this. So if SIG is delayed, now your salary is delayed. Is that fair? Who among us, from the ministry or from the head of the country down to us, if our salaries are delayed now, you even see, you know, red eyes in our face. We are not even comfortable. So these auxiliary staffs in schools, you know, caretakers are not paid. If your SIG is not paid now, they will also not be paid salaries. So I think we have to look a better way in this to address the need and aspiration of this particular group. And finally, about Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. Minister also agrees that the ministry is doing very well in terms of TVET, technical and vocational. They are doing very entrepreneurial and other areas. But I also think now it should also be tailor-made. For them, after completion, they should also be fit to work in any government department. Not only apprenticeship, you go after the apprenticeship, you're not thrown a go and do your this. We have to. Reform is not only talking about people who are in system, but reform means what? Institutions that we are creating, institutions that we are creating now, after their completion of their training, are they fit to be part and parcel of those sectors? So this is a great, the ministry is doing extremely well. But the problem now is what they are doing, what they are studying. Do they have an area where they can also work on their expertise? This is also the biggest challenge. And I believe if a ministry is doing enormously very well, it should also be of importance to see they are lacking. And the other path that I think in those institutions also, higher education, we have institutions like the University of the Gambia, GTTI, Gambia College. Honorable Speaker, I'm also taxing this to the Minister of Finance, that loans that are owed to university, Gambia College, MDI, and other institutions, it's high time for you to work with your ministry to make sure they are paid. If those loans are not paid, how do you think the university will survive? And now the university is put at a funny position that they cannot increase their school fees. GTI the same, MDI the same. It has to be a consultative issue. So if their loans are outside, it means those institutions are in a funny position. I believe Ministry of Finance work with your ministry to make sure their loans are paid. Whatever mechanism you use now is better for them. And finally, in the area of telecommunication, Honorable Speaker, digital economic is the ministry that will be transforming our digitalization of a country. But when you look at their budget and also their policies and programs, is it really an informative aspect of our digitalization? No, because they are constrained in terms of budgeting. They are. And the other funny part is, it says in Minister of Digital Economy, page 28, it talks about 28.80. In a bid to offshore research and innovations for employment, creation and local development in ICT, the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, in partnership with the University of the Gambia, is working on implementing a technological hub and extension of initiative across the 3 regions of the country. In our budget, I've not seen this part and parcel in the budget. How are they going to work on implementing this? Is it by donors or partners or whatever? So, Minister of Finance, you could assist on this for us to know what really do they mean in this regard. And in the other part, when you go to bullet 82, it says, in an effort to revitalize and reposition Gamtel-Gamcel, the ministry is drafting a national fiber protection policy to address the network interruption caused by frequent cuts on the national fiber backbone. I think, as what Honorable Cisé, for all you know, have said, we wanted to see that you are coming to a framework or a draft position paper on the gateway. Liberalization is done, but what effect does it suit? It has definitely, played a backward version of this telecommunication giant, both Gamtel and Gamcel. And today I can tell you for free, Gamcel is only sitting with one switch. If today that switch goes kaput, all of us will even get what? Free calls. $7 million for them to revive that particular switch. It's still a challenge. Staffs are paid on the 10th, on the 5th, on the 15th, or they are paid based on priorities. Group 1 pay this amount, group this pay this. Both Gamtel and Gamcel. And now the other part that I've also seen the minister saying, he said they will also work on privatizing Gamcel. What heralded? Because they are not paying dividend, they are not making it. What do they have to make sure they reach that particular options? And the same applies to Gamtel. If the main consumptions are given, it is liberalized. Every hanky-panky will now take its shares and do on. So these are issues that we face as a country. Telecommunication giant, second none in West Africa or in Africa. Today is even the list that is mentioned. What went wrong? And we could even remember in 2017 to 2018, their monies are even being loaned again to 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂. We are loaning you your own money, gateway account. Are we serious as a country? So these are issues that will not. The only way we can make surviving of these telecoms is for us to take ownership. You dare not to talk of Sonatel. You dare not to talk of South Africa Telecoms. What revitalization are we to do with this company? There must be seriousness in telecommunication. And there is serious in telecommunication now. Today, all institutions that are communicating will take the lead role. Today, when you go to the army, communication is kaput. You go to the police, communication is kaput. You go to certain institutions, communication, zero. Because what the telecom giant is not making use. And even in our offices, the local lines of Gamtel are not even functioning. So are we serious? Even you go to a company or department, they even give you 997 or 668, 77, whatever, or they even give you 39, whatever. A department, you're given a telephone number, a GSM operating number. When you have your Gamtel lines, they're not even used. What revitalization would the ministry is talking about? I want to be guided, Minister of Finance. What revitalization are you talking about this issue? Because I believe without which the country will end up. And now, if SOEs are now losing their grip, as a country, we are also seeing signals of a failure. A honorable member for Fonyi Jaroli have said this, and I was even shocked. AMRC is created by an act of parliament. If I'm right, Minister of Finance, you can also guide. But today, AMRC staff have been, moved around. Others are in PMO, others are in records, others are in Minister of Transport. The drivers and cleaners are now being junk packed home. Stay here till definite. I don't know whether Parliament we are aware of this. It has happened. AMRC is no more now. Asset Management and Recovery Corporation is no more. What forces had warranted this? We have to be informed. So if SOEs can now be hinged and now been thrown away, you move staffs all over, are we serious as a country? These are happening. A lot of staff, drivers and cleaners are there, wandering, sitting at home. The government is aware, they know. The ministry concerned is aware. So in terms of employment creativity, are we really making a plus or a minus? Today, if it's about 100 staff or MRC, or 150, today we are now seeing minus. And others may not even be comfortable where they are. They'll just join and park you. Others are even saying that I've been sent to go to the ministry and inform them that I am told to be here. I am told to be here. A drafted letter. Sometimes I wonder why this situation that we are in. May Allah help us. So, on that note, Honorable Speaker, I solidly put this for us to come with policies and programs that will inform our life and livelihood of this country. And I believe that this budget is not a budget that will bring development, but a budget that will just be paying ourselves personally monument. And from there, we continue to another year. So, thank you very much. I thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Honorable members, we must avoid tautology, repetition. We must avoid it. Our standing order itself does not agree to it. I don't want to obstruct members when they are on, I now call upon the honorable member for Banjul North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I will want to join my fellow honorable members to commend the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs of this country and also his team for coming up with such a marathon and also comprehensive speech. Honorable Speaker, on youth and mental health, I would just refer the House to page 44 and paragraph 147. With your permission, Honorable Speaker, given the rising number of young people failing...
Page 44, paragraph...
147.
147, okay.
147. Given the rising number of young people falling victim to drug abuse, the government of the Gambia, through Drug Law Enforcement Agency, has intensified its demand reduction activities and making efforts to establish a rehabilitation center to cater for the plight of drug victims. This is a positive step towards approaching drug abuse as a public health problem rather than a matter of criminal justice. The National Drug Control Strategy 2019-2023, which is in its final year of implementation, will continue to provide general guidance on the agency's activities. Honorable Speaker, going through this very important provision of the speech that was given by the Minister, I think it will be very important to hear from the Minister to explain to us more about this. If there are any timelines in establishing these desperately required facilities, and how much is budgeted in the 2024 budget to commence these plans for our youth. I think it is very important for us to know. Honorable Speaker, going further, I will then refer you to page 15 of the budget speech by the Minister, that is number 29. Number 29, page 15. Which talks about the revenue loss due to exemption increase from $2.2 billion in the first 9 months of 2022 to $3.09 billion in 2023. This is largely due to duty waivers granted by government for the implementation of ongoing road works, agriculture, energy, and education projects. In the same vein, Honorable Speaker, the government has set a target of $19 billion from GRA in 2024, an increase of $4 billion from the $15 billion target in 2023. If the government were to bring down the amount of tax exemption, then this could go a long way to increase the tax revenues to help the government meet its target collection. What can the Minister tell us about this in 2024? Because I believe it is also very important for the Minister to give us a detailed information about this issue, which is indeed very important. Honorable Speaker, going further, I will refer you to page 65, number 211. 211, letter C. Letter C talks about, in the health sector, certain user fees will be increased to support cost recovery. The Ministry of Health will work with the relevant stakeholders to inform the necessary increment. I believe this is very important, but what will the fee increase be? I want the Honorable Minister to tell us, and how much will the public be involved in this? This is a very important matter which can affect the public access to healthcare services. After being diagnosed, many patients have no choice but to buy drugs from private pharmacies. When will the Gambians be able to access complete and quality healthcare services? I believe these are things that we want to know from the minister. Understanding that currently as we talk or as we discuss as parliament, if you go to our health facilities, when it comes to the level of drugs, we can say it is already red. So what is the government willing to do in terms of addressing or remedying such a situation? Honorable Speaker, I believe I cannot just talk about the budget speech of the Minister of Finance without talking about the issue surrounding young people. As we always say, young people issues are cross-cutting. Yes, of course, they can be cross-cutting. But let us also understand that the young people are the citadels of the nation. They are indeed the cream of the society. And as we all also believe that they are the current and the future generation of these people, of this country. So in that regard, what are we doing to better prepare them right now? I think if we better understand how much the young people constitute in terms of population in this country, it will be very important for us to take the young people seriously. My honorable colleague have mentioned about the budget speech when the minister talked about the initiative that was done by NEDI, that is the National Enterprise Development Initiative, in terms of supporting young entrepreneurs in this country. We have seen the amount involved, that is 50,000 for 32 young people and also women entrepreneurs. What can we do to increase the amount? Because we're talking about a budget of billions. Is it not important at least to have 100 million for such an initiative? If we are to prioritize and we are very serious in terms of empowering our young people, because I heard some of the members talking about the illegal migration that young people are embarking on currently, which is very devastating. But what can we do and what are we doing as a nation to make sure that such a situation will be a thing of the past? Sometimes it is very disheartening if members like us, as young as we are, stand in front of this parliament, still have to talk about how best we can empower the young people of this country. I think it is high time as a parliament, and it is high time as a government to put the young people in the forefront in terms of any development agenda that we have. Because that is the way out. We know it or not, that is the way out. Because we cannot keep on talking about empowering young people when it only stops at advocating. What are we doing in terms of action? What exactly are we putting on the table for young people to benefit so that they will not even have the mind to migrate from this country? Not to talk of illegally. So these are things that we really need to focus on. And to end with, Honorable Speaker, the issue of the budget structure. Looking at the budget speech, I can gladly say that it is very innovative, because you can see that it has widened our horizon as Parliament to understand better how the revenue and the expenditure of our budget are implemented. So in that regard, it is very, very important as Parliament to make sure that we do the needful and also collaborate with the executive and solve the Gambian problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Banjul North. Honorable members, this appropriation bill is ours. It's not the minister's. We appropriated what is here. The minister did a submission in the estimates. We did what was needful. We cut here, pasted here, and did that. That's our own. It's not the minister's. Let's remember that. This is what we have done and agreed on. What we could find out is probably to see whether it's the correct extraction for what we have approved. Honorable Member for Tumana.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I will join some of my colleagues to thank the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs and his team, and by extension, the government of the Gambia, for coming up with this, as far as I am concerned, this progressive budget. Honorable Speaker, I will just highlight some important features that are in the budget which convince me to stand before the Gambian people to tell them that this budget is progressive. First of all, according to the budget speech of the Honorable Minister, he has highlighted the NDP of the government, the how to call it, the recovery-focused national development plan, which I believe when this NDP is being implemented in correspondence with this budget, Gambians will feel a development, and of course our life will obviously change, Honorable Speaker, because this NDP is in line with the UN Agenda 2030, and of course is also in line with the African Union Agenda 2063. Honorable Speaker, this is something that, as far as I'm concerned, is important, and it is here to address so many problems that we are encountering today. Honorable Speaker, this NDP is having, the government of the Gambia has a strategy to finance this NDP, which are, when they are implemented, I believe is a program or is a plan that will definitely pay dividends. Because among the financing strategies of the NDP, you have domestic resource mobilization, which is very, very important. Because in the Gambia, we all know we have a lot of revenues that we are losing. So if government is ready, and if government is ready to make sure we collect domestic revenues at our own level, I believe that is a good move, and this can help us to finance the NDP also. Honorable Speaker, utilization of the innovative fund financing. I think this is also very apt, and it will help us to, of course, realize the NDP, particularly this 2024. Honorable Speaker, the utilization of concessional fund is another key important strategy that can help us to finance the NDP. Moving forward, Honorable Speaker, according to what I've said, the government has a lot of programs. I will take you to page 19, chapter 47. In this context, carbon financing and green financing holds considerable potential in supporting resource mobilization efforts in the country. This mechanism encompasses instruments like carbon pricing, green bond, and green investment fund, which can create new revenue stream. Actually, the biggest problem that Gambia is having is lack of money. And lack of money can also be attributed to we are not putting more emphasis on revenue collection. So if government is paying attention to that, in all the aspects, all the potential areas, especially this carbon financing and green finance, I believe that can also address some huge problems, some big problems that we are facing. Honorable Speaker, moving forward to chapter 47 chapter 48 on next page, you will see that government is also, it says that this chapter is talking about in a bid to free up physical space and bolster growth, a series of public finance management related reforms have been implemented, and these reforms will address physical risk emanating from underperforming SOEs. Yes, because many people, some of my honorable colleagues are complaining that some of the SOEs are there, they are not paying dividends. So when there happens to be certain reforms, I believe that can also help us and that can also boost our revenue. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the same page also, if you go to chapter 49, Honorable Speaker, to boost revenue collection, that is on line 3. Okay, to boost revenue collection, the government has issued in April 2023 regulations on electronic tax stamp traceability system on accessible goods and fuel product. We have also issued a circular standardizing border clearance procedures and establishment of new risk management system at all borders and in non-controlled posts. I think this is also geared towards helping the government to collect more revenue, the revenue collection system to be effective and efficient. Honorable Speaker. The much talk about IFMI system also, I believe is also helping and it will also help as it has been rolled out to all the local government authorities, some government agencies, and foreign missions. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on page 21, chapter 51, there again you will see another program, like the 2022 Public Expenditure and Finance Accountability Performance Assessment Report, supported by the African Development Bank, highlighted weaknesses in public finance management indicators, such as budget reliability, transparency of public finance management, of assets and liabilities, policy-based fiscal strategy, and budgeting predictability and control. Control in budget execution, accounting and report, and external scrutiny and audit. So I believe this is also very important as far as our current problem is concerned, because it will highlight some of the weaknesses, some of our weaknesses where we have in collecting or in controlling public finance management, because it has shown some indicators whereby if these reforms are up, then they can of course help us to fix those problems, thereby more and more revenues will be